Hey folks, how's it all going? We have got you more Overwatch here at the EGF National Championship. Of course, this is the high schoolers that are going to be playing today. My name is Arcast here with Strive, and we'll be giving you the lower final. Of course, the winner of this will move on to the grand final and meet Hebron University. Right now, though, we've got West High Vikings versus the DaVinci Alpha Wolves in a best-of-5 first-to-3.
Yeah, super excited, Ari. We saw the likes of West High play against Hebron just before this matchup, so you and I have a good inkling as to what they're all about and their kind of play style and composition. So, and the good thing is we always start off on Nepal as our first map, which gives us a baseline to kind of evaluate the situation. DaVinci Alpha Wolves not yet seen by myself yet today, and I'm excited to see this overall series and how it runs down. Ari, we do have bans out, and I'm going to throw it over to you to talk about these because I was not expecting these two bans, to be totally honest with you.
I remember the first one. I can't remember the second one. It was Hazard.
The first one? Yeah, and the second one is Kiriko.
Kiriko, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Kiriko feels like a we can't play Kiriko type of ban, so you're not going to be able to play Kiriko either. That's what it feels like, maybe trying to force players onto that Lucio mirror. As for that Hazard, I think they looked at someone's ranked profile and said, wow, they're really good at playing Hazard. They might have seen the previous match, but in the end, I think that is a very specific target ban on a player's profile. That's about all I got.
That's what I gather too, and it's that and or someone had a traumatic Hazard experience and just said, no, like we're okay. It's not something that we're good countering. It's not something we're comfortable playing against. There's got to be some rhyme or reason to it, and I wish I could get a bug in someone's ear and learn more about it, but alas, here we are. Coming on to the side, we talked about this briefly on the back end of the Hebron matchup in regards to West High and some of the things that they could do better. I think cohesively, or as between you and I, we felt like the team was strong. They just lacked that ability to get past that front line, and Hebron's front line was just unkillable, to be quite frank with you, and very targeted, concise dives and picks as well that led to their success. So I'm hoping that coming into this one against DaVinci Alpha Wolves, if it ends up being a problem, that they can make those adjustments and look to really capitalize on that mid to back line to gain space. And right off the rip, you can see they're going up against the good old infamous Maga yet again. So the saga continues.
Yeah, I mean, as for the roster that we're looking at right now, of course, we don't know too much about DaVinci, but for the West Vikings, Buddyless is in. That was a late substitution for the team last series. Of course, that person they replaced was Evans Corner, but it seems like they're keeping the player in, most likely to play that Reaper. And as for that Hazard ban, I just realized as well, you can only ban the character in one map. So we will get maybe a bit of a tale of if that Hazard is a person's specialty in map number 2. We'll just have to wait to get there.
You can see Impure on the high ground there, waiting for a pick opportunity as Dino is well protected behind the Maga. Poke and prod a little bit here. Nice selection there from Impure. Sees 2U low in the background. Let's see Ann ran out of the equation, so one slippery pick out of the way. Dino is just seemingly uncontested. About to get jumped on by the Maga as I say that, and yeah, that doesn't usually bode over too well when you have a Maga absolutely stomping on your head, and it's Buddyless who in the end is able to get the pick, but it puts DaVinci in the forerunning here and on the site pick.
You know that one song that goes, raindrops are falling on my head? Well, instead it's Magas are jumping on my head and slamming me to the ground and putting a lot of bullets in and firing up the range. And yeah, pain and suffering. That'll be the deal out there. But for both tanks, right, they both are on Maga. And we saw Kingside's had a really good mirror against Hebron, but now it seems like maybe having the backhand and biting off a bit more they can chew here in this first fight. The anti-nade just completely dismantling any sort of push that would have been the case.
Yeah, it was dismantling it until it wasn't. Like, you look at the side of Tranquility, who I think threw what was a reasonable ante, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna, and you know what, part and parcel, now my brain's kind of putting one and one together a little bit. Kiriko ban kind of opens up Ana for the table, so I think we can put that one at least. The Hazard ban still doesn't jive with me though.
We'll find out what exactly is the case. Of course, Impure though finding that first with the pulse bomb. Maybe just waiting around looking for a little bit more support from their team, along with Tuyu falling down on the Anran. Believe that is off of the Tracer, which is maybe a little different. Oh, no, actually, that's right. They did play Anran earlier into map 1 on Nepal in their previous series.
Facing Maga 1v1, we love to see it. This is what movies are made of. Impure trying to get a pick in the back line. There's no more recall on the table here. As you can see in the fringes, a very, very low HP. And now purple big stand, but there's the nano. Instantly health goes back up to the 700. There's the cage. There are the eliminations. Big Sam making big impacts here as the good old Lucio's just trying to skate and survive. But I don't, okay, yeah, we're just gonna, yeah. I kind of felt that. And like, you know what? You take a nap. You earned it. You worked hard today. Oh boy.
Unlucky. I mean, to be fair, we had no clue what this DaVinci side would look like. I mean, it could be an absolute stomp from them, and right now it's very convincing that they have this map in hand. Of course, I hear a sleep dart fly out, I hear a Cassidy ultimate, but no targets found quite yet. Of course, that slash will land on through, but the beat invested, expecting those heals to come through, although Dino only has fallen here, so DaVinci still being knocked down a peg, still have to work their way in here, especially as that beat drop comes through once more. Again, a Death Blossom, plenty of ults invested, and for DaVinci, of course, they'll take that right there, still up 99-0, but I'm also just thinking in terms of strength of schedule, right? The only team they've lost to is Hebron, so both of these teams looking for a rematch.
Certainly that, and despite the nap session there, it looks like West was able to come back in really nicely and put a lot of good things together. I like the the Junker Queen swap, by the way. I think that's a really cool way to kind of sift through the front line and make your way further and further in and deal with the likes of maybe an Ana or Soldier. And Renault getting invested as well. Big Sam holding on the high ground, and yeah, very quickly Reaper's like, I can't contest this. I got to get out.
Well, the Henran ult, of course, in a tiny room, just funneled right back into Oblivion. Never seen that ult be used in that way, I'm going to be honest. But I guess we won't be seeing that one again this map, at least, as it's so Tyrant that actually picks up the first Ana King's size. The tank removed from the West Vikings side, but the kill feed seemingly all red for the moment until only Dino is the one that has a mark back. Still, though, control gained for the Vikings, and you have to give it to them. They are resilient.
They certainly are, and I'm liking what the Sanran did in that fight. All things said and done, Tuyu was really valuable and was able to really kind of peck away at Maga from the back, which I guess on this map in particular is kind of the way you want to look at it, right? Don't enter from the main choke, look for high ground, look for opportunities on the right side of the map there in this point of view, and try and chip away at the Maga as Buddy Litz now is trying to chip away at the opposition. King Size is going in heavy, and you can see there so much momentum. Once the bowling ball gets rolling, it is very, very hard to stop this West High School composition.
Unlucky that you have to dash all the way back to spawn. You can't let your supports get that healing back, but unlike Rivals, there's no strange TP to quick touch the point. Instead, you're going to have to walk back with those pesky little legs. Cage fight available. And still, of course, we'll be looking to be invested here, but the rest of the team needs to be made up. Just dashing right through it, though, is that Junker Queen using the Rampage, the Annihilation, if you will. It is massive for that value. The only problem is it's being matched right back. It's 2 to find 3, make that 4. Almost on for a practical ace. And they will win out the sub-map for their team. I mean, the Vikings. You just don't make that up.
No, that was pure insanity. That was a clip in itself. My goodness, like for it to boil down to that last final push in, and DaVinci gave it all that they had. I mean, they walked in with the Maga cage. They had a plan, but West just danced around it so much better. Really, really great first showing here on Nepal.
Ooh, nice little graphics here. A little bit of a scoreboard. Taking in a moment to register the information that's coming through. Of course, I don't believe those are in order, per se, as you kind of just have to look at the names, coordinate. But as for these damage totals, I mean, relatively the same gross number, although DaVinci 2 schools have a lot more coming from one player, whereas West Vikings are more spread out evenly across their team.
Totally here. I'm just waiting to see what King Size is going to pick as the target of choice right now. We can see some exploration on the right side as well. The ante is huge. King Size is going to get absolutely disintegrated here. And wait a minute. Hold the phone. it's Maga. Who am I kidding? Right back to 15% health, and it's like nothing ever happened.
Buddyless will be removed here, but all these players funneled into a very tiny sideline. Hello, a little bit of skeet shooting there for you, Impure, but looks like the rest of the players will be feeling the burn as they meet a battle of the Magas down on point. Of course, that point will be kind of convinced over by the DaVinci side, but in the end, it looks like the dust settles. King size eventually will fall, I'd like to say, but I guess maybe I'm wrong still as well. King size living and dreaming on the point as they find a sleep dart, but might actually have a flip here.
Yeah, a nice early flip too. So this begs some questions here. DaVinci, what are they planning to do? It's just going to be a rerun. The rotation of these points is actually insane because it feels like they just got perished and then they're right back into it in all of 15 seconds. So the comps themselves are just so energetic. And here's the Nano coming out as well. Oh no! Goodbye, Nano Maga into the abyss. Invalidated. Point gets flipped one more time, and this has been spicy so far. 20% apiece and one flip to go already.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams want that chance at revenge against Hebron, but they got to get through themselves here, which means you can't over-focus on what's the future. You got to focus on one map at a time. Now you're in control, and it is not the most forgiving game mode, right? You lose one fight, sure, you're okay, but if that snowballs, that ult economy starts to go awry, and then all of a sudden you've got Tuyu resurrecting themselves in the back line, hoping for the best results, and even that's a sleep dart, an anti-nade. Bye-bye to all the players of West Viking High, at least on this particular fight.
I think Kingsize learned a very valuable lesson there. Don't run an Ana that has sleep and purple available because you're going to pay the price. And that's going to be part of the thing for West here. And also something that they're going to have to carry over to the Hebron matchup if they're able to take this series. Kingsize or a Maga against an Ana on a face check, especially in a very tight corner like that, is going to lead to problems. So good capitalization there from DaVinci High Schools as they're now playing further back and giving some space to West to find their footing, and I expect them to make a calculated dive there. There's the cage fight. There's the purple Maga one more time. Big Sam is able to get king size, and the saga continues with the battle of the Magas.
See the vision back here. Oh, does get the beat drop off, so at least sustained healing for the moment. These players still hanging on for dear life, but that's Tranquility on the Moira. I'll talk about that in a second, but that pick is done dividends in this fight. West Vikings are hanging on for dear life, and although overtime is prompt, West Vikings will flip the point right on back.
Yeah, I want to hear your perspective on this Moira and just what it's been able to bring for the side of West. I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, okay, so we were saying earlier during Marvel Rivals, we were saying, okay, Cloak and Dagger, kind of comparable to Moira, and they were saying, well, yeah, but one character's meta and the other one isn't. And I said, well, Moira's has a non-zero chance of showing up to the games today, and when you look at that, we do have our Moira gameplay, so I think that's a bit fun, but Tranquility as well, showing the value that the character can bring. One kill with their ultimate to you as well, to self-res, just to make sure this fight is one out, and the Genji for Buddyless. I mean, it's a full compositional swap, it feels like.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I mean, if you've got to make a move, now's the time to do it. Comp swap, do what you got to do. This is the time to take chances and either make mistakes or not, Ari. And the reset here, 99%, all we need is DaVinci to get on. Cap point, and that's it. But that's a feat in itself. I'm loving the king size switch to D.Va too, by the way. Just all things said and done, that's a solid pick. And 50% to ult as well. I think we'll do a really good job of soaking up this Maga damage outplay.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that defense matrix you saw in there for a moment, and even just one frame it drops. That's the anti-effect applied onto two players, of course, resulting in one's downfall. No self-destruct available. The Emray will punish that along with Dynamo only, and that's a high noon, I believe, in the mix. Now just looking for that final flip, the final team fight win. Of course, the blade's still in effect here, but the deflect back on forward. They'll need to find a whole bunch of value, and it just isn't going to happen. Buddyless will fall. Impure, the one reaping the rewards on the point, and there's that ultimate that finds two. A touch potentially in sight, but booped away. So there you have it. Submap 2 goes back the other way.
You know, talking about West and that fight there, there was really good intention from King Size on that dive as the D.Va to the back left by the staircase. But the problem was that you had Big Sam on the stairs by point, just absolutely secluding the DPS and the supports from participating in what was a critical pick to do exactly what we talked about, which is getting to the mid to back line, dealing with the Ana, dealing with the Lucio. So, you know, props to Big Sam. I think the positioning of DaVinci in that final fight there is what really sealed the deal. And Maga made space, very, very critical space, and was able to get picks off the back of it too. So 1-1, looks like Nepal's going to go the distance here.
You seeing what I'm seeing? It's that Cat Bastion.
Oh boy, I saw it right away. I oh boy, I'm like, oh goodness, this is going to be a good time. Let's see how it works out. Here we go. The saga of the Flying Cat continues. Ever since the release of JPC, I've had mixed feelings, but just watching it from a third person is just, it's so much fun.
I honestly really haven't seen it been played and organized, only really in that rank style. I guess I could consider myself lucky in a way, but at the same time, I mean, a whole new perspective potentially applied here. What are you just going to do with a barrage of bullets from above? Well, not exactly the best angle to be used on, but there you go. Now potentially a pick. No?
You know what it is, Ari? It's like you're taking an immobile Bastion and all of a sudden making it a mobile turret. And like, that is, in more ways than one, very, very traumatizing. That's my biggest problem, is like, you have a moving turret that can disintegrate you, that can all of a sudden go from in front of you to behind you on this particular point. Like, that's tough to manage, man.
It is, but at the same time, I was assuming that West High would not find themselves the point flip. Instead, they do. It was a little bit of a positioning blunder off the rip, but only for 7% sacrifice. You'll validly take that 25% now and counting for them, even as they lose to you in the end.
I like how we're getting the POV of Buddyless here on that Bastion. Curious what that JPC combo is going to do in the grand scheme. And on the opposite end, seeing what DaVinci does from a first point of view is going to be fun, because yeah, you got to deal with that Bastion. There's the lift as well, and you can see Bastion in the mid area is able to get so much value. Big Sam gets absolutely disintegrated on Dominon. That's never a great time. And zoning the Ana back into the corner, Buddyless goes down, but that's going to be the transition. I was not expecting it to go the way that it did, with Big Sam falling so quickly in that fight.
I agree. And the swap as well now. I was expecting, honestly, that West High were going to get a lot cleaner value on that JPC Bastion, but it feels as almost if they're leaning into it a bit too much. Like, if that does get countered, I'm almost worried for them.
I think you look at Dino now on the point of view. I haven't seen the full, you know, breadth and depth of what Dino's been doing. It's aggressive, nice flashbang onto 2U is good for one, but King Size is able to contest and hold firm. Purpled now, but JPC to the rescue, flying in for some heals, gives West High the chance to fully reset and get back into the mix here.
Well, that domino was short-lived, apparently.
A little bit.
Instead, 3 ults for DaVinci. And West High, 2 ults for themselves. Of course, you're looking at a Bastion ult. No real CC to kind of pin them in place, but a big punish if potentially executed correctly. Tranquility, though, dropping not on that Moira, instead back on the Ana, and this is a flip once again. This map feels very TDM scrappy.
It does, and I'm not seeing the cohesion between 2U and Buddyless on the DPS front, right? Because like, if Bastion wasn't flying, you'd really want to be targeting some of the I'll say, targeting cohesively, i.e. 2U and Buddyless need to work together to disintegrate that front to midline. But with Ghosty Boy flying out the Bastion and so on, it's just not connecting, and they're leaving a lot of cards unturned on the table here.
That burst fire, potent at some times, at others maybe a little bit risky, but Ghosty Boy went for play. It did not work, and so Ghosty Boy will be back to the spawn room. Now a potential flip coming in as JQ. Now King Size, you mentioned you liked it before on the previous match, a previous stream, but is it enough to get them across the line here in this fight? The answer, apparently no. It will be Dino only, Big Sam, Impure, all making their marks on the kill feed, leaving just Ghosty Boy to come back from spawn.
Nice stuff. And you got Impure now with ult in hand, the Emery. Lucio as well has beat in the back pocket. We're cooking up a little high noon. This is panning out to be a massive fight, and we'll see what West can do as they're coming in. Look at the aim from Impure. Dirty with it. Goes for the escape as well, is able to get down to safety. I mean, I'm so glad I watched that in first person. Impure just really showed what raw aim is all about.
Let's see, what do we got here? Maybe another snipe? No, a touch though, it does come through. I think it was a sleep dart that tagged onto the Tracer, hence why you heard that antibiotic grenade, get that initial kill. And of course, now Rampage invested the beat to match it up. Perfect counter there. The anti-grenade, so great. And yeah, this might just be it. I mean, it's touches, it's a last-ditch effort, but is it really a solid chance? I'm gonna say no, as the map is now over. There you go, DaVinci up 1-0.
Just watching Impure in those last like 2-3 minutes was just a glimpse into what DaVinci I think is here for. They're here to absolutely give it their all, and just seeing the aim on that Emery, I'm sure, I mean, both teams are firing on all cylinders, and I can expect great things from both if I was to watch back the demo. But just that look from Impure really gave me a nice look forward to what DaVinci is going to bring in this next matchup too.
Disgusting, by the way. Just watching that play back, nuts, crazy.
Clean.
Scoreboard. Take a little peek here. A Big Sam. I mean, that is absurd. The numbers that they put up there, and it does end up being the deciding factor. King Size definitely gave them a good run for their money, but it just felt like they were a step behind in a lot of those fights, especially with these antibiotic grenades that are being launched in. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that Ana ban come on next.
You totally took, like, you read my mind. Like, in this, you know, this afternoon, or, you know, this late afternoon so far in these matchups, critical turning points have been off of amazing sleep darts, but most importantly, those crazy purples. Like the value that the Ana's been bringing on a consistent basis, showing up, and especially in the likes of a Maga, who really does need some form of anti to be semi-killable in some way. I'm not going to say it's the only solution, but seeing what the Ana's been bringing in terms of pick potential and, you know, creating a cohesive dive opportunity, and it's all part and parcel leads off of either the tank making the first move, or i.e. running in and the Ana backing it up with a purple or sleep, or vice versa. You get a great sleep, and then you get the Maga diving in, the CC comes out, the purple goes in on top, and then you maximize the potential amount of damage that you can inflict while that purple is active. All these little things come together so nicely to create kill conditions that are what really pushed DaVinci ahead. That, backed up by some of that raw aim that we saw from Impure, among other things, just kind of came together to make this perfect recipe. West, though, did an amazing job of getting some early presence into the series, and they did a great job on point number one, but kind of fizzled out once DaVinci found kind of like their critical focus points and was able to make better decisions. And also, I will say, I love DaVinci's alt conservation and alt usage as a whole. I think that no one was hastily throwing things at the wall expecting it to stick, and I think West is going to have to mimic some of that a little bit more and just look for more cohesive opportunities. I'm sorry that was a lot, but I had a lot going on in my mind here coming into the series.
No, you're absolutely good. I mean, those are the various factors that propel a team into victory. Something that we say a lot of the time in Rivals is that you can't really trust that domination will be very telling on the series. And since these two games are very adjacent, I think the same can be said here, where Control, as much as you want to say, okay, yes, they're up a map, yes, they looked good out of the gate, is it really telling enough of how they're going to look on, say, one of these escort maps or these hybrid maps? I mean, we're going to King's Row again, and we saw a bit of weaknesses for the West High Vikings. They did manage to push a little bit, but it was the Pharah that just gave them the trouble constantly. As well, I'm excited to see why exactly we had that hazard ban in the first place, and if that'll show up here.
Yeah, I'm honestly very curious if it's targeted, because if it was targeted, you're absolutely correct, Ari. It should show its head here pretty soon. And for me, Hazard and King's Row, kind of synonymous. They go hand in hand quite well. Hazard does a great job at a few things, right? It's almost like Maga-like, but in a different way. And where I mean different way is, if you're the differentiation between, I'll say, an average hazard and a very good hazard is the usage of the, I'll call it the sticky wall for simplicity's sake. You can so quickly block off critical sight lines, like the likes of an Ana, like the likes of a Kiriko, and so on, and invalidate them. And then that gives you such a great ability to dive. But that's where the differentiation occurs. If you miss wall or don't use your wall at the right time at the right place, you're fully exposed and naked, which really you're just no bigger or no smaller of a target than a Maga is. You're gonna get disintegrated as a hazard, and there's only so much damage you can soak up at a given time.
Yeah, I'm thinking that if the hazard is in play and these players do start to go for it, that rest of the comp is also going to switch, right? Like, you're looking at, okay, if it's an Anran, you're not going to be feeling super comfortable running that with Hazard, who can, I mean, follow up a little bit. I guess that's not really the character I wanted to use there, but you get the point of that follow-up might be a little bit tougher. It's a lot heavier in that coordinated dive, whereas they were finding the rewards, DaVinci that is, just bunkering up and playing as a team. The Maga, yeah, would go out in little side quests every now and then, but for the most part, as soon as they played as a unit, they usually got the job done. And that's why I'm curious, is this, or is that map 1 maybe not the style they were traditionally used to playing? And if that is the case, how much of a world of hurt is the West High Vikings team gonna feel?
It's a very good point. And in terms of world of hurt, it looks like one bit of hurt has been removed out of the picture, namely the Pharah. So we have a Pharah ban coming through as well. A little bit of a relief, I guess, in some ways, but also in other ways, it leaves some other picks on the table, which we'll get to. The other ban coming out is Sigma. So I dig it. Sigma on King's Row, again, to me, synonymous. Maybe I'm biased because I love to play Sigma on King's Row. I just think it's such a valuable pick with the way the map is structured. But it leaves some, I'll say, less favorable tanks in the mix, namely the fantastic Maga, who we've seen be absolutely nuts. Like, Maga, this afternoon has shown me a different side of Maga. I mean, I've seen many sides of Maga, but this in particular has shown me just how impactful a Maga can be when it's backed by some very, very strong support. And I'm thinking to myself, is West going to go back to the Maga comp? Is that what's in their arsenal, or are they going to look to pivot? And seeing how they kind of struggled on King's Row against Hebron, are they going to be going to something different, perhaps? You know,
I think in terms of the diva consideration, right? With Pharah being removed, that's going to incentivize the Vikings to get to that diva a little bit more often. And I think as we kind of move into the game here and see what those picks truly are, I am still leaving a bunch of question marks here. And I feel like, honestly, the first thing that they show us and they go into the first fight with is not going to be the comp that Andon. That's just my brain. I think there are going to be adjustments from both teams right off the gate.
Yeah, you bring a lot of good perspective and things that I often, my mind looks very unilaterally. I just kind of focus in on, the nuances of individual teams, but you make a good point about the overall hybrid map style in itself, that you're right. It's not going to be the same comp that they go to the finish line with. So a lot to be discovered here as we go right off the rip to the diva, and very quickly, unfortunately, that is the likes of King Size getting demaxed, and I don't see any concern from the side of DaVinci so far.
The Venture. I like the concept. Give me a second to think about the practicality of, how it functions into this comp. I mean, I think JQ is going to be a bit of a struggle to break through this initial choke, right? Unless you have that rampage, unless you're going for that hard engage, Venture's going to kind of struggle. We'll be have to playing a lot of off angles, and so you're almost playing to play a dive, but as a brawl comp, and one that is quite vulnerable from a lot of angles, especially ones that this Maga can kind of piece on up. So curious to see how that does play out. Of course, Big Sam might just get out of dodge. Just 2U gets punished again. Another situation where you're kind of just questioning what's going on, although you give him some time to fully cook.
You got to ask yourself some questions, right? Like, for Venture to excel, Venture can't be shut down. So who can shut down a Venture in the grand scheme? An Ana with a sleep, okay. But if they're timing it correctly and Buddyless is able to gain some sort of value, i.e. be the minnow on the end of the fishing line that can bait utility and or survive, I'm all for it. But right now, some staggering taking place, which is less than ideal. I'd be very hard-pressed to think that West is going to take this point without Buddyless in the mix. We'll see how that works out as Impure is fighting demons and in the worlds of 2U. Here we go, Buddyless back in the mix. The Nano comes out as well, and looks like no one on the side of DaVinci is at all concerned with what's happening. They have a very, very good hold on the high ground and low ground so far.
I mean, TDM style, we're bringing it back, and I think for West Vikings, they honestly thrived a little bit more in that TDM style, right? If DaVinci doesn't get set up into that death ball, if they don't play with their Maga, it is going to be a struggle. But as soon as you have that organized play, when you're down a singular number, that strategy kind of goes out the window, right? Dino only, being somebody to pick up a few eliminations. This Lucio running away, but they are going to get out. Fight still, however, lost for their side.
I think you mentioned something earlier that I'm seeing very much be very present in this matchup is the whole, like, you know, mob mentality, grouping up together, sticking together as a pack. I feel like when you watch DaVinci there were so many times where I'm like, oh, here we go. This is Tyron who's going to die, and Tyron just survives. Like, DaVinci does such a good job of grouping together. And on that conversation note there, here's Impure going in with the ultimate. And that's what makes Emery so dangerous. So high, so well positioned here in this high ground. The ability to get away and survive after this too. I mean, there's a pick. And so far, nothing.
Uh-oh.
I lied. Yeah, that went sideways when JQ threw the knife.
Wait, Tuya took themselves out with their own pulse bomb.
Oh no!
Although,
It was not part of the plan.
luckily for their sake, it doesn't end up biting them in the back.
Yeah. West did a good job of pushing DaVinci into, I'll say, awkward corners and isolating them, which is really what you want to achieve, I feel like. If you want to go ahead and dismantle a Maga, you kind of need to isolate and either pick off the Maga or something in the back line. And yeah, like to see it. The JQ is doing a really good job of surviving with that shout. You can see the immediate jump to 700 HP. Goes in with the ultimate, the fat purple, and there comes the rolling wrecking ball of West High School.
Fair enough, I'll give you that one. Yeah, certainly accurate. For the Vikings, honestly, I expected them, if they were going to get stuck anywhere, it would have been in that first choke. And of course, you know, being down one map, they opt for the attack side, and they push the card as far as they possibly can. DaVinci, of course, you know, ideally find that full hold for themselves, but, you know, they're still in a situation where they have ults, they can match it with the engage, and it looks like potentially the case here, but there's the beat just a little bit late to catch on Dino only. They will fall, and that Tracer in the backline has been causing problems. That beat fades, by the way, and now you've got no HP left. This Ana hanging on for dear life. Where's that nade? Still hanging on, and Pure finds the kill onto the 2U with the melee. As for the rest of the battle, though, still going on. It's a battle of supports and an Emre, and, well, when the dust settles, it should be the supports in theory, but there's the nano applied. Emre finding, feasting, and flourishing as they get the final few eliminations to flat-foot DaVinci.
I'm looking at the side of West and I'm thinking to myself, you know, what's the kill condition? What's the win scenarios? And I feel like King Size's ult is probably the biggest splash that they can have. Having that JQ purple and invalidate so many heroes in one go is, I think, what's going to drive them to success. But, oh boy, that's a pulse, and this time too, he doesn't self-sacrifice on top of it. Impure is one of the critical members of the side of DaVinci in terms of damage output, and that's going to invalidate the Emery ult too. So you know, you look at the full puzzle here. West is just continuing to be really well put together, and for me, a completely different team as compared to what we saw with the Hebron matchup just before this.
Yeah, they're starting to outspeed a little bit, right? This JQ, it's kind of honestly just sending it in. And Big Sam, as much as they are trying to kind of be that mainstay for the rest of their team, unfortunately, they just can't soak up enough damage. They're not able to peel for their team because, of course, when you're a big walking bullet with every single way, it's a struggle to really peel in and be a human shield at the same time. Oh, so we do have a little bit of a pause coming through, but I think for these players, you kind of hope for the best going forward. If you are, say, the Vikings, they've been on a tear for a decent piece of this segment, and honestly, if they are to control this and snowball it into a further side, I think their defense is going to look just as clean.
I think so too, and I have, I think the JQ pick in itself, but sorry, before I get to the JQ pick, right before the pause, we actually got DaVinci going to the Orisa, which, you know, third point or second point, we'll call it, on King's Row. I think Orisa is going to be the better option out of what I think you could have swapped to. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Orisa swap in general?
I feel like I don't mind Orisa, but I feel like it's going to have that same kind of problem as the Maga did. I feel like if you're trying to change things up and not play the same role for your team, I think a Ramatra would have been maybe a better swap, right? That duality to both engage and peel and have the shield and keep a distance. I just feel like ideally, maybe that's what it is in theory. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, because then again, you could always get target prioed by all of these different, you know, sneaky little gremlins on off angles, but I think it will be okay as long as you're hitting your shots. It's a little bit less dive reliant and more poke heavy, which is something that they are looking for, but that role of how it's played for this particular player in the scenario going to be the same in their team comp.
I Agree, and I think you hit a lot of the high notes as to how I think the Orisa would make sense. Where in my mind, however, I also agree with what you said about going to the Ramatra. I think like particularly on this point, coupled with the fact that we know that the Ana and the healers themselves are immensely impactful, Ramatra brings what Sigma, who is banned obviously, brings to the table. The shield goes the distance. Like the shield is so impactful that, yeah, I'd be willing to wager that a Ramatra pick may be a little bit of a better choice, but I'm curious how the Orisa is going to pan out. Obviously, you know, for our viewers, this is all hearsay. This is all banter. You know, hearsay may not be the right word, but you know what I mean. We're having a general conversation. There's no way to rub a crystal ball and know what's going to happen. But I kind of vibe with your Ramatra suggestion.
Speculation, as they call it.
Yes.
No real results to base things upon. Pure theory, game theory. And for some of these players, of course, they're going to need to not only find it theory, but also have it be execution in nature to you. A little bit dangerous position, but they do end up getting out. The rampage comes through, though, and that might just be a pure shred, but no, impure. Kind of reduces any sort of pressure on the card. Of course, splitting the team completely in half. The JQ will find themselves evaporated, and impure will just send the remaining few players back to their spawn, whether by elimination or by pure pressure.
I'm watching Tuyu and I'm thinking Tuyu's got like a mission, and that mission is to go and deal with Impure. Impure's aim is absolutely on point right now, and getting rid of that Emery, especially when Impure has ult, is going to be critical to the win condition. But a minute to go and 90% to farm for Impure, a lot's going to have to happen in a short period of time for it to make sense.
Reaper battle actually a little bit more key as both have Death Blossoms. That fight for the high ground going to be critical, as now you hear at least one invested. Buddyless will go down, but not after finding one. Big Sam speared off the edge, so bit of a mistake there. I think the beat invested even for Dr. Junk of Rat, but in the end, it's Dino only, the only one coming back from spawn with that ultimate and a say in this fight. Of course, that won't happen in time. The spear away denies the touch, and 30 seconds left on the clock for the West High Vikings.
Tough moment there for Lucio, getting stuck in that corner by the heal. That's just unfortunate, and you know, it's that dichotomy, that split. Do I speed up or do I heal to get out? And neither of which would have been great in that scenario. So tough situation. I mean, this is King's Row. It tends to go to the distance, at least in my experience, and we're gonna have to see it run back one more time from DaVinci. My eyes are peeled on the top of the screen. What are we gonna get for a composition here, and what's DaVinci got cooking in their pockets?
My only kind of zoom out speculation that I've just kind of been thinking about is if one of these two teams, you know, wins it out, it's such a close game, they're going to still need to muster up the courage to find a solution to take down Hebron, which is very tough considering what exactly has happened between those two teams, any of these two teams, and that matchup with Hebron. But I think if we're going to take anything out of the series and move it into the next, we need a team to step up, take initiative, and take control. Don't let these maps be close. Find a way to convincingly beat your opponents in ways that we would not imagine right off the bat. Because if we can't predict it, then nor can Hebron. That's my 2 cents. Now let's look at the comps.
Yeah, let's run it down. DaVinci, Widow, Reaper, Maga, Ana, and Iliari. West has got the tried and tested Tracer, Reaper, Orisa, Ana, and Lucio. So keep your eyes peeled for, I'll say, the snowball effect of this West composition backed off that Lucio especially.
Big Sam just feels like a Maga player name. I don't know why. Like, you just see a Maga running by and you're just like, oh, there goes Big Sam. Like, yeah. I feel like I'd nickname Maga that.
It's like getting a custom license plate for your car. You know, you try and match the theme. Big Sam is effectively the custom vanity plate for Maga.
So down for that. Of course, just a little bit of poke here. We saw the same thing with a Widowmaker previously. Oh no. Okay, well, you have to pick in the end. That's what matters. Doesn't matter that the player was sleeping and couldn't move. Nope, no, we're not going to talk about that one. Instead, we'll we'll talk about the battle going in on this point, and Big Sam does have a little bit of value, kind of engaging with the rest of the team, lighting this Orisa on fire. However, that's an antibiotic grenade in your face. We've seen that one be potent before, and instead it runs out. So there is a chance for them to very well turn these tides. The only problem, though, is that no eliminations have come in just yet. Just the 2 ticks before that hard engage starts to come through once more. Can't sacrifice much more than that. Waiting for these players to step on a little bit closer, and now an anti-grenade should be up and left, but King Size, unfortunately, a bit too low on HP. 0, in fact, to receive it. There you go. Although the sleep does apply, it is all DaVinci here in this first fight.
Watching Dino and Big Sam work together is like 2 peas in a pod, right? You have this giant Maga, and then you have Dino standing just to the left shoulder of Big Sam, just pumping away with that shotgun, like absolutely pecking away at that Orisa. And that damage output doesn't go unnoticed. And, you know, it's that mob mentality. It's that stick together and you will succeed type of vibe. And look on the ghost view there with the X-ray on. You can see both the Reaper and Kiriko, or sorry, the Reaper and the Tracer playing the off angles precisely to what their roles are supposed to be. And they're just there to cause chaos, to leave holes open in the back line. And they're doing a great job at that too. Is we got to see, oh boy, poor Impure, who had a plan and just it completely fell apart now.
Saw the vision there for the pick onto the Ana. Tranquility does fall down eventually, though. It is the hands of Impure. They will meet their maker as well, though. And in the end, I mean, Cage Fight still available. Iari ult as well. Reaper, Death Blossom, but no real solid footing for either of these 2 teams on the point. Could very easily be swayed. Just kind of that neutral poke for the moment. And that'll be the turret taken down for Iari, so no healing beacon, of course, regenerating relatively soon. Death Blossom in the mix, and it will drop onto the point, but to no avail, no reward. Instead, maybe a TP back the other way when that comes up. Another Death Blossom in the mix, but again, still this neutral fight. No ults being expended, no picks, but it's DaVinci that keeps scaling on up.
It felt like Dino had an opportunity there to drop the Blossom, and yeah, now it comes out. He's able to be is able to get one. That's Ghosty Boy, but that point just moved an extra couple meters and it invalidated that prior opportunity. Now it's up to King Size here to soak up everything under the sun and try and survive. Is getting healed, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Bomb is going to drop on top of the railing and is not going to add any value either.
I was waiting for the little boop of the bomb, you know, the baby diva knocking the bomb off the ledge, but instead that does not happen. It'll be Ghosty Boy to beat drop here. Big Sam drops a cage in the midst, but also drops their life. Oh, well, hello, a little bit stuck here in the fade, still struggling to make their way out of the wake, but King Size does find the value in the end. A little bit of a TP in the back line. And okay, West Vikings have won it out in the end, although I will say it feels like DaVinci have been a little bit more convincing on their attack side so far.
Yeah, and Impure actually got off of the Tracer about a minute ago and went on to the Genji at 84% for Blade. That's gonna be fun to watch. 2U was on Soj and swapped off to Mei, so some quick back and forth there. I think the Genji would have been a momentous pick against the Sojourn, but that obviously that tide turned really quickly.
Maga in the front lines once again. The anti-effective blind. They're going to need to find a way to break in. That's going to be a Nano Blade that comes through. It's Impure trying to strike, as well as a Nano Diva in the back line. Ooh, but that's a little bit of tick damage from the Maga. That burn damage that wakes it up, but it does not matter. The Ana finally goes down, but look at the main fight. Well, I was going to say it was a lot dominant for DaVinci, but there were 2 picks that went back the other way. Eventually, though, that back cap will almost come in effectively, and that will be a quick cap. Little bit stolen away, you could argue, but for the West High Vikings, they went with a play and it didn't work out. Honestly, you can't blame them too hard.
No, you can't. I mean, it's part and parcel to what this is all about. Absolutely not. And we got one more point to go. 3:07 on the clock. So, you know, both teams have been going through this map with good pace, and they're leaving themselves a lot to work with. We got a repeat situation, a mirror of what we watched about 3 minutes ago on the previous half of the Reaper VV Reaper on the high ground. As it looks like Dino only is just holding steady, and I'm sure they've calmed out that the Blossom is on the table too. Quick dive goes over to the side of Tranquility. There's a Blossom there from Buddyless. Don't discount Dino though. Still a Blossom, and yeah, there it is. He's able to pick up 1 at the minimum.
Yeah, 1, but honestly cost them their life. They couldn't move out of the way for 2U with that Mei, and the headshots do land. There you have it. That fight in history. DaVinci School is going to need to find another way to cap this point fully, escort the payload to the end.
2U's got the Blizzard as well, and my gut says 2U's got to keep that for a fair bit of time. You can't... That Blizzard's going to be a win condition, I feel. Like, it could make such a huge impact if played correctly.
What do you mean? What if the defense matrix on their own team takes their Blizzard out? Oh no, that would be crazy. Okay, yeah, enough copium. I mean, Big Sam has been hanging around this front line, has been applying that pressure, but yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, you pop that Blizzard, and that's at least the secured elimination on the Monk. It'd be a shame if it wasn't. And so you're just waiting for that hard engage, maybe a little bit of an overextension before eventually you go on in. Maybe a cage fight countered with the Blizzard, but that's Buddyless that goes down. The Vikings now going to be feeling the burn, and I don't mean the Maga, but maybe I should be considering the Mei now gone. These are ults that were available that are now back into spawn. Ghosty Boy is going to need to be finding a miracle touch. King Size as well will at least get there. And oh, I thought for a second you were off the map, but no, the cage fight separated off. Yari ult though against the Blizzard. It's pandemonium, and the self-destruct comes through, but it is all red in the kill feed. The Vikings have not given up, and they will not be blown past.
In my mind, I was thinking, Big Sam is surely just going to go ahead and pick a side and 50-50 gamble a cage fight. Surely, right? To like stop them from funneling back on point. But instead, he kind of migrated over to the right, left the other point open, and everyone just happened to funnel out that one side. Imagine you took like a lottery 50-50 chance on a cage and just blocked everybody from retouching. That would have been momentous, but alas, here we are.
Think about that, but that makes actual complete sense. It would have been a great play. Unfortunately, they're going to feel a little bit of problems in this fight as well. That clock, that time, that's starting to dwindle on down. King Size, that Diva paying off again, and the hard reset for DaVinci here. Again, we're seeing that Domina swap come through, and I don't know about that this late.
I don't know either. I couldn't tell you how it's going to work out. 2U's on the verge of Blizzard again. We have another Blossom already in the tank. Expect this combination to go absolutely hard as ever. Dino's desperate for heals. Blossom and Blossom. There's the freeze as well. And Pandemonium has struck yet again, and it's not going to be enough as West High is able to take the win.
Not even a touch in sight. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I gotta respect the play there from the Reaper in the end, right? Even though you're 1 HP, you're looking for a bit of heals. You have to just commit the ult. You don't want to go down with it available. It just so happens that the other side, Vikings, end up being the victors of that fight. And as you can see in the chat along with this play of the game, I mean, a bit of a swap coming through.
This was that moment where I was referring to the Lucio getting stuck by the heel. That was a definite turning point for sure in that last push. Swap coming through player-wise, not the first time we've seen this as well. Talk me through it, Ari. How did you feel about that matchup? How do you think West High did, and what can DaVinci look to improve or change in their next match?
I like the Diva pick. Very, very nice. Did we see a Diva ban the first map? I don't think we did, right?
I don't believe so.
It was Lucio. No, it wasn't. It was Kiriko and it was Hazard, right? And then Sigma Far this game. So I'm going to say, I mean, we were wrong before, but surely the Diva ban comes in? And then maybe back the other way, you opt for the Emre ban?
I think both very viable, both very impactful. I think the Emre ban on Impure is a smart pick, but it feels too targeted to me. I feel like Impure would probably excel on just about anything with that kind of aim, like especially a hit scan. There's a lot more options on the table. So, but it also comes down to, the composition and what heroes they have in their pool and so on. But I don't know. My mind doesn't immediately go Emre as the ban. I don't see it being that impactful. I feel like tanks have been a definite contention point for at least one of the two bans consistently across all the matches that we've seen so far today. And to your point, the Diva, I think, would definitely fulfill that requirement. On the backside of things, for the side of West High School, they're the definition of sticking to your guns to a certain extent. Like very, very steadfast in their play style, and also not afraid to take risks as a whole. You have to appreciate West High School for their, I'll say, stellar tank play. That's just my 2 cents. Like, this entire afternoon has been a culmination of just tanks backed by insane supports that are just enabling DPS kills after kill after kill. So when I look at kill condition, I have my eyes very much peeled on the tanks and to see what West is going to do. part and parcel, though, the next map leaves a lot to be questioned. I don't know where we're going from here, and if it's something that we've seen yet or not seen, and that's going to play a huge factor into, what my predisposition or what my thoughts are going into the next series.
I mean, I honestly wanted to say that you go to Flashpoint after this, but now starting to kind of look back at Control is a bit 50-50. Now, granted, you technically did lose this map, but you almost felt a little bit more confident on King's Row than you did in Control that you were going to take the map if you are the DaVinci side, of course. I'm curious. I think that maybe they will opt for something like a push, because we saw it before. Granted, it wasn't this team DaVinci playing in that previous series that we had just recently done, but I think push is going to favor them a lot because it allows them not necessarily to snowball fights if they need to, but pick and choose the battles where they want to invest the ultimates and find the most critical fights for themselves, and I think that's going to help them flourish a lot. Just noticing that win con and knowing that it's not every fight needed to win.
Yeah, it's a great point, and the other X factor that we briefly touched on but haven't really dug too far into is how's the player swap going to kind of work into this, right? What is that going to bring to the table? What is that going to take away opportunity wise? All of these things are, again, speculation, conversation points, and how it looks in person on the, in the venue is a whole different thing when you get down to these kinds of moments. On the flip side, my mind is also thinking ahead. I'm thinking West High School coming off of a loss against Hebron. They're obviously yearning for a second kick at the can against them in the grand finals. And what kind of stops are they going to pull out or be willing to pull out to get to that finish line? And I don't know. I feel like there's so much unfelt pressure on West and on myself in a little way too. Like, I can only imagine what's kind of panning out in person there as they're trying to figure out their composition, and not just that, but just how important this next map is as we get closer and closer to the culmination of this best of 5.
I do think, I mean, obviously we saw the text chat come in right at the end of the game. I don't think that's a strategic swap coming forward. I genuinely think it's just, okay, we've got a 6-player, let's give them some playtime, and they're about the same caliber as the rest of our team, so, like, why not, right? There's no, like, oh, we're giving charity time to one person. It's, no, we want to win, and, maybe it's just this is the swap we needed, or maybe they won the map, because, again, I'm not entirely sure who swapped this teammate out. So, again, with that map not being determined, you are looking at a situation where it's not about hero pool. It's literally just about changing the pace a little bit more, having a new, fresh set of ideas, somebody that was watching these two and can give you the notes of, okay, here's what we were doing that maybe isn't adding up correctly or something like that. But we do have the push. I was technically right on that front. It is going to be Esperanza.
Yeah, I like to see it. Esperanza, not yet seen between the series you and I have been on, so that's cool. And an X Factor. Player swap, new map, albeit it's still a push. Where do we land, though, in terms of picks? Do you feel like they're going to bring a different comp to Esperanza and pivot away from what we saw on King's Row, for example? Or are we going to see, if you had to take a best guess, are we going to stick to our guns on both these teams?
Well, I think Esperanza is going to very heavily favor the Vikings here, just based on the compositions that we saw, right? The Diva, and so many vertical angles that you can get away with. I mean, even if you want to play the JQ, the Brawl against the Manga, that will also work. And so I almost feel like a lot of the times, at least in these particular competitions, teams will do what they feel most comfortable with and not necessarily an anti-pick against the opponents. There must be a composition that DaVinci has cooked up that they feel is really strong on this map, not just that they, quote, like the map. And so I say that the Vikings are going to keep the same comp. I think DaVinci are going to swap things up, or at least I would hope for them to swap up the comp, given the results, at least in the previous game.
Yeah, all valid, and I'm gonna add a little bit of spice to the recipe here. We got the bands in, so it's gonna be Maga and Reaper.
Okay. All right. Well, with Maga, I mean, both teams did end up running that Maga character and would like to implement that into the gameplay, but at the same time, both teams also ran the Reaper. So this is a test of hero pool, a test of strategy and what these teams are capable of. Are they one tricks, or can they battle around and find that different value. So again, I want to say this still technically favors the Vikings. Even though the Reaper is gone, you can still opt for that Tracer Emre sort of style, or you can just put in an Anran again. I'm thinking that's the characters you're still going with. That secondary DPS, you can kind of find your way around.
Yeah, I don't know. The Reaper I kind of vibe with. I get it. It was pretty impactful. It made a big splash. Maga, again, to your point, is it more of like a, just kind of extend the reach, just see how deep the hero pool is type of pick? Do I feel like Maga is like immensely scary on Esperanza? No, personally. Don't know if you agree or not, Ari. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Maga as a pick, especially on this map?
I don't think we see it too often. I think a lot of the time it's more Orisa, Ramatra, Diva, heck, even a Roadhog if you really want to get frisky with it. But I don't think a lot of the time you're going to see that Maga, although unless you are running some sort of hard dive. But that's right. We get to see the hazard. It didn't show up in map 2, but it is here.
Yeah, I kind of echo your thoughts with the Maga, and that's part and parcel why I asked it, because in my mind I'm thinking, well, if it's just really a meh, or at least to you and me it's a meh, why ban it? But on the backside of things, we get Maga's long lost brother in the form of Hazard here. It's going to be Impure occupying that.
I mean, role swaps galore, right? This is Impure from DPS out to tank, and it's Big Sam from tank to support. I mean, we have a new player. It's Hakazi, and yeah, a whole new set of stakes here.
Yeah, very, very different stakes. The swaps are going to be a fun thing to analyze and dig into. But right off the rip, we're on to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2026 as we see Bastion flying around there with the JPC. Buddyless is back on the Venture, which I think on this map especially is going to be really, really fun to watch, by the way.
Absolutely. I'm also looking to see them on Flashpoint on this Venture as well, but that's not here, not right now. A little bit later down the line. It will initially be the bot control for the Vikings. And I guess you also just kind of wonder in the grand scheme of things, is that DaVinci first map win a bit of a fluke, right? Is this something that they just find themselves a little bit stronger on the control, or they just got lucky in other fights? Now, obviously, I don't believe this to be the case. I don't think any team gets lucky. They win for a reason. They obviously have some sort of implementation for their game that works out in their favor. But right now, they have flipped themselves around and will start to show us what this Hazard is made of.
I think we're in for a world of pain if you're West, and this is just my prediction right off the bat, because what do we have really going in your favor? You got, or who can deal with the Flying Bastion and Cat? I don't foresee Venture being able to do a great job of that as Hakazi takes out Venture. And 2U is certainly not going to be the one to deal with it as well. So who's dealing with the Flying Bastion? I don't really know right now.
I never really thought about it, but what one solo character would be best at taking down a Jetpack Cat and a Bastion? Like, who would you opt for?
Pure hit scan. I would just go like raw hit scan or a combination thereof. Like if you can get a soldier to hit a right click combination or a soldier 76 to kind of trace it out, or something of that matter. But it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, like the mobility of Jetpack Cat with a Bastion, it's kind of hard to trace no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, a little bit janky here or there, but if you can land even the brunt of the damage, you should be good to go. At least that general fire will make somebody scared of you enough to want to run away. Of course, if you can't shoot up at that, you will be feeling the burn, but there's going to be a stick that should have taken down Impure. Well, it does eventually, just not to the hands of the Pulse Bomb. It'll be Dino only as well, trying to find some value for themselves on the Emre. And I thought we were going to get a mirror, but instead apparently not.
No, Robot continues on as well. It continues to stay in the control of DaVinci. We have Jetpack Cat ult coming up in one of the most opportune areas just around the bend. There is the coast, so you could easily pick somebody up and hawk them off the map if you really wanted to. And of course, Hakazi does have the Bastion ult ready to go too. Emery's charging up, and we talked about the Emery ban being something on the table, but didn't occur, and that's going to be dangerous. Look at Hakazi there just in the high ground, just basically uncontested for the most part, but actually, I lied. It's King Size, the only one with projectiles able to deal with them.
I'm honestly surprised that Vikings won out that fight. I mean, obviously it was the Kitsune Rush invested, that Kiriko ban that was effective, not this series, but the one before, I believe. And so, yeah, it's just a situation where you've got yourself an advantage, and now you need to punish, you need to snowball, you need to find this replication of the success, and this will be the lead in about 2 meters if they can hold on to it, and there you have it. Of course, Buddy Lizza will fall down, so although the lead gained, now the numbers advantage also lost.
I have my eyes on 2U and Buddyless for the most part, or I'm trying to track them in the mix of this payoff, because their impact on DPS and their ability to split things apart is going to be critical, as King Size gets a solid pick onto Tyrant. That's going to be the majority of your heals that away. It's going to have to force Big Sam to not carry Bastion. As I say that, I lied. Bastion does get carried over into the mix and gets picked right back up. Big Sam is so good at transitioning between being the taxi cab driver and then also delivering heals at the same time.
Yeah, honestly, gotta give credit there. I just found it super, super funny. It was Ghosty Boy in a fight, and they met the spear of no, not King Size. It was Tyrant that went down, and you just heard, wow, as the frog character goes launching into the abyss, their body flying. It was quite comedic for the visual standpoint, at least. But again, the Vikings expanding on their lead now. You saw maybe they had a chance to drop out in that previous fight, but instead, they push on the advantage a little bit more. That forward wave of spawns could lead them into snowballing a bit more.
King Size here is just farming, looking for opportunity, charging in. There's the Venture ult as well. Good targeting on the Bastion, goes ahead and is able to deal with it as there's insufficient heal from the side of Tyrant to keep it up. Emery ult is live as well, and I'm going to go ahead and presume that that is part and parcel why, yeah, 2U got eliminated by that. Beat Kitsune. This is a King Size cinema, just going absolutely hard in the paint.
King Size investment as well. I mean, if you hypothetically didn't win that fight, you'd be in a world of hurt, almost looking to not get full capped, shall we say, but certainly feeling that pressure around that final bend. 2U still being a pain. But eventually, I mean, as much as we saw the fight win for DaVinci, like, look at the space they gained. It's almost nothing.
Yeah, it's truly negligible. Look at this dive from Buddyless!
Wowza!
2U! So good!
Fantastic. Of course, Impure will fall moments after. Nobody really left here to contest team kill. And now the final bend does come through for the Vikings. I mean, is this just the way they find themselves up 2 maps to 1? Surely not, right? Given the resources that at least Impure is coming up on.
This alleyway in particular, if played correctly, if Ghosty Boy can just position in pocket with Tranquility, is going to be the best case scenario for King Size. They have Pulse Bomb, which can go right on top. Oh, never mind. Pulse Bomb just got used. I was going to say the combo with King Size would have been cool. There's the Hazard ult. And unfortunately, King Size doesn't live long enough to make much of a splash at all.
I mean, I knew that Hazard ult would be used relatively early, but I thought it would be into the first lane, the one closer and visible to spawn. Instead, it is used in the second one. But honestly, the same value is still applied there. The bots will be moved on a little bit further and back to equal. But those 4 respawns were still achieved by Vikings, so they will still have a quicker fight here to kind of contest this bot at about that midway point.
I feel like West threw that out the door, though, respectfully. I think, like, with the combination of the Orisa along with the Pulse from the Tracer, that would have almost been enough to get 1 or 2 killed. Like, surely, you know, Ari, like, but that's just my thought. As we're back to basically middle point here, fighting it out. There's the Kitsune now. Look at the damage output there onto Impure, who's just struggling to make a splash, stuck in the corner. Dino goes, Impure goes, and the West High School freight train comes in at full speed.
I mean, the Vikings were so low HP for what felt like such a long time, but in the end, they end up winning it out. Like, you just don't see that one coming. You don't make that up. Impure now on the Doomfist, by the way. Whole bunch of swaps coming through, and you might say, okay, well, that's just one. Yeah, but that's also Hakazie now off the Bastion into the Tracer. You're talking about a way to play this map now completely shifted and different. Do the Vikings try and brawl this one out, or do they just try to contain the spot in this very advanced position? But the beat drop comes through, matched on up, high noon. What's it gonna find? It's gonna find a DM in the face. Of course, it will demech that Diva. The fan, the hammer, eventually gonna find its victim. No, instead the victim finds, well, I guess the predicted victim finds the shooter in the mix. Of course, now just one fight away from a full cap if they can get it done. But of course, easier said than done given the anti-nade, the pulse bomb missing.
That pulse was that was critical. If that pulse landed on Big Sam earlier, we would have obviously seen this work out a lot faster in favor of West, but I don't think it really matters that much. The robot's moving, Lucio's grooving, everything is just fine, as there's the bomb as well to ice the cake, and that's going to be the summation of this push. Esperanza going over to the side of West High.
Well, maybe the Vikings just took a second to get back up on their feet from the defeat from Hebron earlier. But man, now that they've got the ball rolling, they are having a dominant third map here. The second one a little bit convincing given the hold that they were able to make. And of course, this play of the game, nice and frisky out by Hakazi, but in the end, it is the West High Vikings that keep on grooving. 2 maps to 1 now on series point, 1 map away from rematching the people that sent them down here.
Thoughts and opinions, Ari, if any? What did you think about that matchup? You know what? It felt like we were watching DaVinci really dig deep into the good old trick, the hat, that, what's the word I'm looking for? The rabbit hat, the magician's hat, where the rabbit, just, you know what I'm trying to say, right? They were going really deep into their into the books to try and figure out something to nullify West. But West High School made some small changes as a whole that I think really brought them together towards that. And it was most notably what you talked about, which was that moment where they seemed like the Vikings were like non-existent, like they were like 0 health, and all of a sudden they just came out so hard. And part and parcel, looking at the stats, I mean, I'm just trying to absorb all of it. I was expecting a lot more in terms of heal output from that Lucio overall.
Surely that's not right.
Something doesn't seem right here.
17k damage for Impure?
No, and Big Sam on 597 and 597 also seems off, unless I'm missing something.
I believe the mitigated number is swapped with the heal number, but then again, that also doesn't seem right, because then why does every character have healing? But, those are just numbers. Those are just numbers. At least we've got all the players still in the lobby. Someone give me wood, please. Knock on that. Okay. All right, good enough. Yeah, these players, honestly, a good battle in that one, but it felt like the Vikings just had the number of their opponents. Regardless of the swaps that came through, it was always adjusted to, and they were playing their own game. And that feels strong. When you can execute while playing your own game, you are going to feel a lot more comfortable than having to, say, react to what's coming in. Now, certain teams will do that. Sometimes that's just their style, and yes, they can own it. But when it's not, at least from what I'm gathering, Vikings, if they can play the characters they want to play and not have to change, good to go. Like, they're done and dusted. See you on the next one. And so I think they're going to try and keep that up going into this 4th map.
One would think, and on the opposite end of the spectrum altogether, alas, this is Overwatch. Nothing is consistent nor the same map to map, and we're going to be getting a whole different look at the game going into this next matchup too. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm sitting in DaVinci's chairs right now, I would just go ahead and completely erase that whiteboard. You know, just get rid of the whole past, huck it out the door. This is a new map, new opportunity, complete fresh look, and I have started noticing more and more this afternoon that map to map, I'm not feeling that there's as much momentum, particularly in this series. Like, DaVinci has been tit for tat across all these different maps, and I am not knocking them or discounting them in any shape or form, by the way. Like, I didn't feel like West brought something that was like, ooh la la, the greatest thing since sliced bread that DaVinci's not going to be able to deal with. I do, however, think that they're going to have to kind of bring, not saying they haven't brought their A game, but just bring a whole different level of just macho-ness to the table. Just like, be confident in your play and just look to make plays at the end of the day. And it's less about just, again, what is the real focus here? Is it the ideal target or the most, you know, the most opportune target? I think for DaVinci right now is they have to go look towards that ideal target, not necessarily what's served in front of them. If they can do that, I think they're going to put a good amount of hurting onto the Viking side.
I mean, again, I'm just thinking about the grand scheme of things, right? Not only did you mention that they need to kind of pull something convincing out to win them a map here and then push this to that OT map, if you will, the map number 5, the final one potentially, but they need to find the successes enough to feel confident in that grand final, since they would make it there if they win out the series. And to do that, right, you need to find something that is going to be better than Hebron. Like, that is just so tough to do. And so it all starts here and now. You have to build that confidence brick by brick, because essentially, if you are getting to that grand final, it is 2 maps in a row that you've won. So honestly, you can think about that with a good mental, but also there might be a little bit of a station swap. You might have a little bit of a break. Just keep hanging on to that, hold through, and take it home. Now, obviously, for the Vikings, I mean, they just need to keep doing what they're doing. It doesn't feel like they're at risk as much as these games are a little bit close. It feels like they still, if these things were to keep continuing, they'd win them out.
In my mind, I kind of hear what you said, or I hear totally what you said about the idea of looking forward to the Hebron matchup, and I agree that that's going to be monumental in so many more ways than one. This, for both of these two teams, in terms of lower bracket finals and what it actually means, is kind of like the stepping stone, right? I'll make an analogy to that of like climbing Everest, right? In the sense that you have a huge mountain ahead of you. You're probably around 3/4 of the way up. But the hardest part of this climb is the end, is that last final push to the finish line. And that finish line is not going to be in this series. It's really the next one. So we have a lot to look forward to as we go over to Suravasa right now. And it's something that I don't have this feeling in my gut that tells me, you know, Wes has got it or DaVinci's got it. Most times I kind of get that good inkling as to where things are going. This particular series is not giving me that ability to think that far ahead, which is leaving more question marks, is leaving more things unturned. And I can't necessarily formulate a specific factor that's going to be the driving force to get either of these two teams over to the summit of that mountain, if that makes sense.
Well, let's talk about bans then, I guess, right? Because is that going to be the driving factor into this next map, right? Is something changed that was available in the last map that led to the Vikings being super dominant, or was it just kind of more of the same that now needs to be addressed? And from what I'm seeing, it looks like it's going to be Tracer and Ana banned, which is kind of the similar logic to what we said about banning the Emre of, okay, well, instead of the Tracer, you can now go the Emre. Instead of the Emre, you could have went the Tracer. So kind of that same logic of the duality of that player that was on that role is still going to be flourishing regardless. As for the Ana pick, I mean, again, both teams did use that character, so it is going to be that kind of gamble of who can shift off of that game plan and find something new.
Tracer Ana on Suravasa, oddly enough, I don't know, maybe it's just my brain playing games with me today. I don't get that, like, oh my god, Suravasa is going to be completely like on its head with Tracer Ana ban. The Ana, yeah, I will say Ana's been a consistent pick, continues to be a consistent pick, will always be a consistent pick. So getting rid of that purple out of the equation now, my mind's telling me, tank, what do you think of a JQ? You know, I feel like that's another one of those X factors that is going to need to be resolved, and I think would be kind of fun to watch now that you've gotten rid of the Ana out of the picture. And the only reason I say the JQ is because the purple in itself is just monumental, and Suravasa is a map that lends itself really well to that type of play style.
Or are we back to the Moggen time? Is it time to put that Mogga back? Is it mirror? Well, do you want me to give you a better one? What if it's Reinhardt time? What if we whip that one out and see? No? Sorry.
You know what? No, you're good. You did a good job of selling it, by the way. The stealth tactic, on point. Am I going to see, is my gut telling me Reinhardt's in the mix? Don't think so. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't see it working with the overall flow of these two teams, and it's something that I haven't seen so far this afternoon, which kind of leads me to believe that it's not in the mix whatsoever. But I'm eager and always looking forward to eating my words here, Ari.
And it hurt for a little bit of Winton. A little bit of dive for a dive enjoyer. Okay.
Oh boy.
Well, that is the Anran back, I believe, for Dino only, which is not the player we saw on the Anran earlier. It was Tuyu, right, for the Vikings side. Farah, though. Oh boy. Farah, the PTSD, instead it's on their side now. for the Vikings, and as well the Reaper back in place. The backlines, from what I'm seeing, I feel like I want to give the advantage, just backline wise, to the Vikings. Based off that Lucio, it's just been so versatile for these teams, and I just have to give a question mark to the Juno. That's really the only reason why, is because I just don't know what it's going to spell out. Oh, okay. Flyer versus Hitscan. Well, that'll tell that story for you. Of course, Impure will fall down, and now off that tank roll back onto the damage, but quick pick gonna need to be equalized. Big Sam does find the one, and remember, Control was the map that DaVinci had won earlier, so Flashpoint gonna be their real best bet at kind of coming back and tying things up. But of course, no rush. They've got plenty of room to work with. This is just the first point, just the first fight.
Yeah, totally. Here's Control now on the side of DaVinci. You know, I was gonna say, from my perspective, and I'm just speaking out loud here, I think that the Vikings have more than just the Lucio going for them. With the Reaper and Pharah, you get more verticality. That is assuming you can make it work in your favor, which we saw 2U get eliminated very early on. So we got to give that some time to develop here, as Dino is pecking away and looking to just do some chip damage here. 2U playing on the fringes as well, and this is what Pharah does best. Just kind of sits in the back line, is able to make a huge amount of impact from a distance, and then boom, flies in and is able to get one at the minimum here, as we see Impure pick up the pieces.
Yeah, finds 3 though, actually, and this is immaculate value from the swap on over. I mean, Impure back on this role that we've seen, and honestly, I was going to say to you, I would like to see a Mirror and Ran battle, but appears that's not going to happen. Instead, the May, and I again have to question mark that, because I don't know how much value that's going to find. Maybe it's a point specific swap, but we also don't know which point we're going to, so it's not.
No, and it looks like DaVinci here is looking to guard the fringes and at least watch the rotate, which is always a good thing to see, as the side of West are going to funnel down that staircase and occupy their position on point. This is where Maga shines on this point. You just have so much control, and as long as everyone kind of plays that pack mentality together, I think it'll go really well. And look at the fearless jump in from Big Sam. There is the cage as well. This is absolute chaos. Oh my.
Yeah. Big beat drop there. Absolutely saves the heck out of their team. Of course, Dino will find at least the first, maybe even a second. No, but Ice block along with a charge on in should get the job done for Impure. Buddyless does fall down, but Dino only soon shortly to follow. The res up on point though. 2U with falling means that these numbers are relatively equal. Still certainly a very doable chance. The invincibility to try and get out of dodge, and Big Sam will find the resurgence. Again, DaVinci now looking to get that second point pretty quickly, and well, they've at least won the first fight. That's the first step to getting there.
Yeah, West was looking really good. King Size had really good target selection, at least for a brief moment there on the point of view when we were watching. And it all kind of fizzled out once DaVinci dealt with the fringes and was able to look back towards the Maga and kind of melt. But coming back to the retake now, you do have the freeze available for the May, you do have a cage fight and a Blossom. So as far as ultimate and what's available, I don't see too much concern, as again, everything including the kitchen sink goes out. There's the freeze, there's the chains coming out from Maga, the cage fight, and just like that, West get back in and they secure their position on point.
Yeah, but it didn't exactly feel like a full fight. It felt like a, oh, we have favorable position. We might have found 1 or 2 eliminations, and so the rest of the team are going to disengage. DaVinci should be poised for a lot better of a fight this time, especially as, you know, the first pick comes through and Pure has been let off the leash. Or Vikings have either just stopped paying attention. Either way, a bit of a blunder for the Viking side. Death Blossom comes through. It finds the one, which is good enough because Sam will fall slightly after that. And of course, Juno and the rest of the team. So big flip not only happened a little bit earlier, but now that percentage is starting to get up there. Okay, Impure, you just can't be getting away with that.
Impure getting 2 nice picks as well, but what blows my mind, and half the time when I'm watching a Maga POV, is like, am I watching what Maga's shooting at, or am I watching that health bar? Because both of them are as equally entertaining. The ability for these Magas to just sustain is, I think, what's driving a lot of this matchup. And back it up with the beat and the usage of Lucio heals, you get such a great AoE effect. As soon as again...
Yeah.
No, take it away, Ari.
I was just gonna say, it never was at full HP during that entire fight. Like, they were so antsy to engage. I was staring at the HP bar, and it was like 130 trickling up, and then they would peak. And I'm like, no, just let the passive kick in, take that regeneration, but it didn't happen. And so, of course, with your tank being that low, you just get bulldozed over when the initial dive does actually come through. That poke, it adds up.
It truly does, and with 30% to tick away here, DaVinci are sitting on an arsenal, and oh, we're getting a pause actually. Perhaps tech issue, but we got Big Sam 19 pips away from an ultimate there, and a lot more available for the side of DaVinci as well. Talk me through the beginnings of this map, Ari. What do you feel? Is it everything you hoped and dreamed of? Is something going different to plan, you would say, or what are your thoughts, or where are you at?
Well, I want to say I'm surprised with this result, but I'm not, because of the fact that we saw such a dominant control from the DaVinci side. It makes me think like, okay, they just really are strong in these control type maps. They, for whatever reason, when it is a singular angle that they can hone in on and just run it down for, it's really good. But on the same side for Vikings, they were so good at like kind of managing that death ball when they had the space to work with, and now that they've almost kind of entrapped themselves into a smaller lane than it actually exists. You have a lot more space to go with. You have more off angles, flankers, that can be the case, but we're just not seeing that utilized by the Vikings this game.
And it's also very point-to-point based, I think, especially on this map, right? I think this particular choke that we're dealing with today is very single lane, right? There's not very many ins and outs in places where opposition can funnel in from, which I think kind of helps a little bit in terms of focusing the line of fire and what's actually going on in the background. But as we go now to the next point, that's where I'm curious, you know, what the dice toss is going to get us, but how is that going to play into the comp, and is that going to make any difference? I look back as well to our little fiasco on King's Row, and I remember when I talked about some of the alt management as well, and just how that kind of came into play. What I'm seeing with both these teams right now is the alt usage is totally calculated. It doesn't feel like they're walking into a fight and throwing things willy-nilly. There's a great usage and a combination between a cage and a beat, or a cage and a kitsune, and these types of combos are really working super well together. So if at any point in time any of these small nuances and harmonies start to malfunction, that's where we're going to see opportunities open for both of these two teams.
Re-engage comes through. Of course, that is not going to be a C9. There's 3 players on point here, but the Orbital Ray, the Kitsune Rush, the M-Ray backline flank, and of course getting pieced out of the sky from a Reaper trying to do their damage, but eventually it does pay off. You will fall a price for it, but even trade still on this point. Cage fight invested, Maga dissipated. Dino only on this Anran actually been feasting a lot more than you would expect, but at the same time, this point is still not over yet. Eventually, the res does get used by the Anran player, and the point confirmed for DaVinci. In the end, when the dust settles, we've got a lead of 2-0 here.
Yeah, I always wonder what the Anran, logic is, right? Do you go for the ultimate for the kill, or do you go for the ultimate for the res? In that case, Dino had no fear, just kind of, playing the cards and waiting it out and going for the res. I just feel like, would it have been any different otherwise if they had chosen to ult, and would that have offered an open opportunity for the Vikings? Just some things, small things to think about. But off we go now to what I was expecting to be the next point here, which is this particular choke, or this particular point, has a lot more openings. And going to what you said, Ari, is this going to be where DaVinci struggle?
I mean, it should be, hypothetically, but is that going to actually be the case? That we don't entirely know. I mean, for the Vikings, they were off to a strong start in the moment, but they are feeling a little bit disjointed for themselves. Everyone seems to be on their own solo missions, and that has led to 2 players falling off. I mean, Tyrant Dino picking up Buddy and Ghosty. And so, of course, the point does go to the Vikings for the moment, right? The cap, but there is by no means any sort of safety that goes along with this.
No, virtually none, actually. I like what I was seeing out of Buddy List there earlier, just trying to isolate Tyrant on that Juno, but obviously wasn't able to do so given the health pool available. Kingsize now going in for a dominant slam as well, and there's the Kitsune Rush now. Big Sam again trying to get back into safety this time, playing a little bit safe with the dash, and unfortunately he's going to pay the price instead of playing the offense. Kingsize is able to get the kill, and the Maga saga continues as we watch just destruction, just absolute machine gun destruction coming out here from King Size.
I do want to say that it's whichever Maga uses that charge in first does end up falling. But at the same time, I don't know how true that would be, considering we've seen Magas jump in with half, if not less HP, and come out with not only a pick, but the fight win and still remaining alive. I mean, it does feel like Maga is the key piece to this game right now, and navigating your Maga around these points is going to be what gets you through these fights.
Yeah, I totally hear you. There's a lot of, you know, you go first type of scenario here. Looks like West is going to indeed go first and just absolutely dominate this point, 99% to 0. Unless something miraculous comes out here, and we look at the positioning of Kiriko, by the way, on the top right, just living in perpetuity. And that's really part and parcel what keeps King Size rolling like that. You got Lucio around the point, you got Kiriko on the fringes, you have great positioning and escape points for that Kiriko as well, which, I mean, you just heal and heal and heal.
I mean, somehow this res is still long enough for the team to come back. Now, obviously, the Death Blossom will be launched in, stunned out by the Maga, but the Maga will be removed as well. So there you have it. Not a clean sweep on this map. Instead, the Vikings bounce back and find themselves a nice open map and a 100-0 cap.
Yeah, and we tend to watch a lot of tank and DPS point of views. Sometimes we might jump to the Lucio, but why does my gut tell me that Tranquility is again working immense amounts of overtime? Just the survivability of this Kiriko and how many Kitsune. I think we've seen, 3 Kitsune so far, if not 4. And we're on our 4th point. So, I mean, kudos to both these, the Lucio and Kiriko on the side of the Vikings for farming and being so impactful in the grand scheme.
Honestly, the reason that they're still kind of in this for as long as they are, right? Without those engagement ults, oh my gosh, big wall. But look at the double TP over. I mean, it looked like it was a perfect punish, and it will be eventually, but there was doubt seated in the mines for just a moment. Look at this. I mean, Vikings, they turned on that switch, and they found themselves in the victorious standpoint, looking strong and tall, but now you got to replicate it yet again.
Oh, here's the beauty of replicating something. You've already done it once, right? And we're not trying to forge something from the abyss. So I have faith here. 2U goes in for a good wall too, and that's going to isolate the Maga. Chain comes in, wall goes down. Here's the freeze. 2U going to go ahead and pop it up, and my goodness, what a mess this is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought it was going to be a little bit more potent than it was. Of course, it would still snowball, it looks like, into a few more eliminations. Just don't ignore the summary for too long, guys. Be careful. Don't get punished off this. And actually, it looks like they have kind of ignored for a decent amount of space. Now they have to give on up. And these teams are split, yeah, 2U. In a precarious position. And I start to worry that if DaVinci do manage to find this point, if they will be able to hold on to it for the good. Of course, that will be a shredding and a half. You saw just that Kitsune rush from Hakazi, not from Tranquility. So in the end, the advantage still for DaVinci in terms of that ult economy, and now they found the cat.
Yeah, you got to give it up to DaVinci for what they pulled through, but it came part and parcel off the back of a King Size dive that didn't really feel substantiated. Like, King Size just kind of ran in and was faced with 3 DaVinci members and just got absolutely pummeled, which is not very West Viking-like to me.
Hard engage potentially coming in here, maybe just farming up those support ultimates. The orbital ray, though, gonna be launched in a little bit early, I think, for my liking. I mean, obviously the back out does come for the Vikings and the time will be bought, but that is a valuable ultimate that is not going to be here for this fight. Of course, there's the Kitsune rush that we were expecting. And in the Maga battles, the one that shoots faster is usually the victor. Of course, that will be the shot landing onto the one. Impure will kind of balance that one out, though. Of course, the res in the mix now for Dino only. And Impure still taking names, still finding ways to propel their team to victory. And now you're looking at Final Fight territory. You almost don't want to stagger your supports a little bit as long as they are.
Impure is a legend, by the way. I mean, just
touch. Oh boy, got it.
Maybe?
But as for
fizzled.
Yeah, that's
the chain. The chain is preventing May from getting into the point. Oh wait, there's more. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
No, that's all she wrote here, Ari. That's going to be the summation of that. DaVinci Schools able to take it. Takes our series 2-2.
believe it's one creator called the DaVinci twins, and now we've got a pair of DaVinci maps out on the board. Just one more required for either of these two teams. Gonna be tough to break through, considering all these teams have been through and have kind of showed to us. But yeah, Impure, I was noticing, was finding so many grenade kills, and I'm like, what exactly is happening? Well, that's a good showcase for what happened.
Yeah, Impure on the board there, 20,210 damage. I mean, come on now, like that's pretty good. Impure was a menace from the ranges and brought so much impact to the side of DaVinci. I mean, huge ups to that Emery. My Spidey senses tell me maybe an Emery ban coming out here soon, Ari? Maybe?
I mean, we played that game before, right? We said maybe the swap comes through the Tracer, but it was like, I just didn't feel that what we were seeing from the Vikings was like them at all. I don't know why. I mean, what DPS were they on? They were on... I can't even remember.
Who? Yeah, sorry, I lost
the Vikings. The Vikings. What DPS were they on? Or on Lucio?
Vikings were on... No, wait. Lucio's your support. Now,
right,
now
I know. I was trying to piece it together by trying to get them out.
Fair. You know what? This is going to rack my brain. I always get caught in these in the moment, so forgive me for not being able to fill in the blanks. It'll come to me, though. My Unk brain will eventually catch up sooner or later, so don't worry about it. But
Reaper.
let's... yes.
Reaper. And another one. And the point that we can't remember it, the reason why, is probably a red flag saying, hey, they didn't have as much impact as we would like them to. Because you remember when Tuyu was, it was May. Yeah, I was getting there. I had to remember the player's name, and then I was like, oh yeah, Tuyu was on the May. But it was like, that value is in one team fight when you can find the ultimate. It's not really, those walls didn't have as much an effect as they would like. And so I would like to see that swap back on the Anran, go for that mirror, because I think in that 1v1 matchup, you're going to be a lot closer than if you're trying to play that supportive role and help your team kind of will them away without dealing out that consistent damage.
The May did have an impactful moment, actually, which, you know, goes with what you said. There was one critical wall that I remember that was just like an absolute landslide. We said, oh my God, and then everything just went sideways. But you're right. It kind of goes... What I'll say to summarize the impactfulness of May is only great if people are all together for the most part. When you have the likes of the Vikings who are spread out kind of thin in different positions, particularly the impactful healers, I would say that the May kind of loses that impactfulness and that flavor, especially that last point where there's about 3 staircases and a ledge to jump off of to get on point. I mean, how many places can you possibly invalidate to make it that impactful? But it's not that simple. I know I verbalize it as such, and the viewers are gonna be like, well, man, it's not that easy. Like, how can you just say May is useless? But it isn't. But I'm just saying that you're right. It didn't feel like it really deliver that punch. I didn't feel that punch in the chest. I'm hoping this next map or this next series here is going to be give me that good vibe. But the bands still have my brain kind of spinning. I can't fathom what's coming down the pipeline, to be honest with you. And usually I have some inkling.
Just a general status update that the closing up shop of the facility, shall we say, is about an hour from now. So we might have to change a little bit of how that final series is scheduled. We'll see how that one works. Of course, we will update you as we know. But for right now, our focus is still on this series. That would be a grand finals problem for future us. That is not right now. We will be heading to Watchpoint Gibraltar. And hold up, did my wish maybe come true? Are we gonna get a itty bitty Winton?
If there's one map where a Winton would excel greatly, I think it's this. I love Winton on Gibraltar. I think backed up with a great little dive/poke comp, you can be in for a world of pain. But I still, in my mind, think, well, Maga is on the table and will always be on the table. And the thing with Gibraltar, especially, is the verticality of this map leaves a lot to beg for, and it almost makes a pick like Maga, I feel, become a little bit less impactful, particularly if you can benefit from the high ground. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be Winton. Do you think we're going to see Mirror Winton, or do you foresee some other tanks coming out that are in the contending for you?
We're not seeing Winton. As much as I would like it, we're not
Really?
seeing Winton.
Why?
Ain't no way. Because here's the thing. We're going to see Diva and we're going to see Hazard if that's the case, right? That's what these teams feel comfortable on. For the Vikings, it's Diva. For DaVinci, it's the Hazard, although that didn't work out too well for them, I guess.
I don't know, man. Like I think like on the one front we said, okay, what's coming, and eventually the Hazard showed up on the what was it, the second or third map. Why do I feel like something deep down is like if a Winton shows up in this map, you mark my words, I'm finishing this cast and I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket, because that's my ticket to fame. I'm telling you, some part of me feels like there's hope. And I feel like if you're gonna pull it out, this is the map to do it. But you're right. I also part and parcel. There's a lot of other way better picks than a Winton that falls directly in line with what you said, which is the comfort levels, the comfort picks, and so on. I think a Sigma is really fun on this. I think a Ramatra can do a fair bit of damage. I think an Orisa does a great job of managing some of the high ground and rotations. I think if you really wanted to run something divey, I agree. The Hazard is definitely at the forefront of the equation. At least that's from, my thought process off the rip on a tank perspective. I can see great value in the Kiriko Lucio as an example if we really wanted to mix things up. I think a Baptiste would excel very well on this map as well. And that's at least from a support perspective. Yeah,
Give me
Zen is one of those things. I like you're like Zen is like throwing. It's like the ultimate X factor in this series. It's like, you know how you feel about like me saying Winton's possible? I feel the same way towards Zen being possible.
Okay, but
I don't know.
Here's the thing. So I'm a Zen one trick basically, and like right. Zen is goated, but in very isolated situations. Don't get me wrong. Is it gonna happen? No. Is it wishful thinking? Absolutely. But like, I just imagine how this game would go if you throw in like Simtorb Zen. Like just imagine. Just imagine that world. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
It's not obvious. I'm imagining Simtorb Zen. Sounds like an absolute destructive time.
Should just throw in a Mercy.
Be interesting. Mercy.
Damage boost then.
Imagine that's how you go down in history and like your like final map. Like
the backline of Doom. I mean, hey, if nothing is sticking to those walls, you may as well try for something. Now, obviously, both these teams most likely not going to resort to that case. But I think the craziest pick. Okay, let's start here. What's the craziest character that we think we could see out in this in this map? I'm gonna say there's a good chance. No, okay, no, that's an overcook. I can't go there. I was gonna say Junkrat. I was gonna say Junkrat for a hot minute, but you know,
nothing wrong with that. I was for some reason I felt like a wrecking ball would be kind of fun.
You know what? Give me Hanzo. Give me Hanzo. I feel like we could see that.
Hanzo, maybe? Hanzo's got very specific use cases. Very good use cases. And I think Hanzo excels well when you have like a shield-based tank, like if you got a Ramatra or a Sigma, because you get great shreddability. You know, if you do like Ramatra Sigma and you piggyback it with like a Sojourn and a Hanzo, like you get so much great penetration on the shields, which I think is great. But it's very, very nuanced. And I think all of this is all fun and games, but like really what's in the agent pool or what is in the hero pool for all these individual players? That's, I think, what the real question is. And unfortunately, I lack any form of telepathic ability, although I wished I had such thing. No, I couldn't tell you. Ari, where we're going to end up.
I can tell you.
You're telepathic?
We are going to end with a score of 3-2.
Ari, you know, I'm just imagining myself like let's say you reached out to me tomorrow and said, hey man, I need you to proofread my resume. I'm applying to be a coach. Like your tagline is going to be ran Mercy Zen, didn't work out, but at least I tried. And like, that's going to be like a hiring manager is going to look at your resume to become an esports coach and be like, man, this guy's the best thing since Van Gogh, or like, yeah, absolutely not, next in the pile. I don't know. Like that's how on the edge you are with those types of comments, and I like it. I approve.
Hey, I'm in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen. Whether I'm burning or cooking is completely different story.
You're still a chef. You're still a qualified chef. You're either cooking fire or you're cooking straight burnt coals. So, you know what? it's fun to have a little bit of a giggle now and again. And looks like I'm going to go ahead and steal the thunder away and announce the bans as we get into this. Teams are going to be hopping in very shortly, but it appears we're going with 2 bans. Duh. It's going to be Break Farah. Break?
Are they allowed to ban the same character in a series?
Elementary question.
It was the other team. Cool. That solves that problem. Well, there are not enough players in that lobby. I think we're gonna have a refresh coming through. But I did see a Doomfist. I did see a Doomfist there.
Yeah. I'm. You know, it's always, you know, I feel like I can relate to people that are watching this, and some people don't be like, oh man, why is my caster telling me what he plays? Well, I love Doomfist. I play a whole whack load of Doomfist. I think he's such an energetic and fun hero to play. Doomfist biased. All about it. You're a Zen one trick. I am a tank Doomfist, mostly one trick. Love to see it. And by golly, I can say in my Overwatch casting career, the number of times I've seen a Doomfist come out and it end up being like the most monumental, insane showcase of skill, it's happened way more than I can count on like 2 sets of hands. So like what I'm trying to say is like the Doomfist pick could be like that crazy, you know, that crazy spice that you add into the recipe. You know, if you want to go down the line of like cooking as a chef, the Doomfist I think is going to be really cool. And it works well on Gibraltar because it deals with the highs, the lows, and it can deal with soaking up damage. And if you can cook, by golly, you can cook on a Doomfist. But
you can clean too.
You can
cook, you can clean the house on the other side. Now, you mentioned how you're a Doomfist aficionado. Do you remember if we've had Doomfist in this series so far?
No, we have. Oh no, we had one.
We did have one.
did.
And how well did it go? There's a reason we didn't have Doomfist anymore, but I'm not sure which team it was before. Obviously, completely different map, completely different set of circumstances. So this very well, like you mentioned, could be the key to success. Of course, I hear that timer ticking down in my ears, which means we are good to go. We will see these players pick their characters, but oh no, they're on fire. The map's on fire.
Alert.
Where is Diva? That is a comm and a half.
Where is Diva? I don't know. Like, someone send the search and rescue brigade out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I think are they going on about the bans? Is that what the situation is?
No, I think Diva's not showing up in the character list, and they were claiming that the character was banned, but that's not the case because Pharah was banned. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our cameras.
This is the Aryan Strive. You know, it feels like, I don't know. I'm not a tarot card reader or like a mind reader or anything, but I feel like at this point I'm turning into like a talk show with the viewers. I'm just like, hey there, you know, I might be a little bit loco. I might be trying to predict the future without really knowing anything about the future, but I'm here for it and I'm cooking. So no, I want to summate this entire thing into one concise thought if I can. And it's going to be who comes out the gate. Like, comps are fun. Like, talking about heroes is fun. Who runs what is fun. But there's some like level of authority that I feel like comes into play in a competitive setting, and things that we say, you know, pick this, pick that, this may work, this may not work. It all kind of gets like pushed to the side when you have a team that knows how to cook with what they've got, you know? Like, if you're a resourceful bachelor trying to make a tuna salad, I mean, you'd hope you have the tuna, but you can certainly substitute, right? So what I'm trying to say is, like, for the side of DaVinci and West, I just want to see what these two teams bring in this final lower bracket match, and just what they can work with and how they make those ingredients sing. I want to see how hard they can cook with the recipe or the ingredients that they choose here today.
If we go to a tech pause, a break in between this map, somehow I have a coin ready, and it will be flipped to predict the victor of this match. Oh my, by the way, we got an out there pick. We didn't predict this one. It's the Mercy.
It's funny,
at least right now.
Wait, didn't you say Mercy earlier? You did.
I did, but I didn't like predict Mercy. I just said it'd be fun to see Zen Mercy backline.
I think the Mercy is again just fun
with the Ash.
Just,
okay.
This is going to be, you know, Mercy Ashe is actually demonic, by the way, as a combination. Like a damage boosted Ashe is absolutely scary, dude. So yeah, let's see how it works out here as we're well underway, as we have King Size occupying some high ground positioning, has the JPC support. I like the look on the Ashe, but you have to be very careful as the Mercy is plugged in. So, you know, what do you pick? What's your kryptonite? Do you want to deal with the Flying Mercy, or do you want to get shot in the rear end by the Ashe? Neither of which sound like a great time.
Sleep Dart gonna go a little bit awry there. That will be a rock back the other way, making sure that deflecting Genji has to retreat even further to you, very low on HP. Of course, we'll have that recall available. But as for King Size here, just booping players off the high ground. Not only are they pushing underneath, but they are now taking that high ground presence after they've done so to give them the best advantage they have next in this fight. Now, that being said, Tranquility goes down. Not exactly the easiest character to help scale vertically. At least it is equalized by Buddyless. But now, who's going to make that next step into the history books? Who will find the next elimination? As for that, I mean, we're in just a magical poke battle for the moment. Expecting this rock to maybe lead to something, but no, it's Tuyu that falls, and now this engage should be going through for DaVinci Schools, although, to be fair, there's not too much they can do with a Sigma to hard engage, per se.
No, they can, and King Size, you can see, is looking towards the back line in the back corner there, but just knows that one wrong move, and, you know, you can't DM and soak everything up, and the problem is then you leave your whole backline exposed where Sigma can just splash damage everything, and Dino is able to get the pick onto Buddyless, so that's going to eliminate a very probable execution threat. You're not going to see a Tracer Genji dive, at least for the next couple seconds. So I'm watching King Size very intently, who's desperately looking for the right opportunity, but is just getting chipped away at so hard, and yeah, throws the bomb and is able to remech, but nothing coming of it.
I mean, the Sigma in an advanced position right now. Big Sam could be feeling the burn, but no. Instead, ooh, very quick picks trade indeed, but Dino has that res, and again, we've seen a lot of those reses be used as the extra life, just wanting to make sure the team does not struggle without them. They'll instead struggle with them if that were the case, if they were to lose that fight. Instead, though, hanging on strong, cleaning up shop, finding that last elimination to make sure that a nice big stagger is indicated. Winton! Winton! Winton!
Oh yeah.
There's a
All right,
Winston.
well, I'm gonna take a quick little pit stop. I gotta run to the corner store and pick up my lottery ticket. So that's that. Thanks everybody. Take it easy, chat. No, I'm kidding. Winton's gonna be fun. Let's see how this pans out. But I go back to what I was saying a little bit. I am genuinely concerned with the ability for West to get past this front line of Sigma. It's just proving to be so difficult. Impure is just putting out so much damage. You have the Ana Mercy, just so much sustenance. It's a brick wall, Ari. There's no two ways about it, and I felt that before the swap, and I still feel the same way. We have to see Tracer Genji really come together and pull something magical out of their back pocket.
And I absolutely like the fact that we're getting an indication that Big Sam and the rest of DaVinci are not just only capable of winning games when they're on Maga and playing that either mirror style or that like brawl run and hope style. So it is nice to see that. Of course, though, this could be completely dismantled by the Blade Storm, by the Blade, and by the Pulse Bomb. You have certainly a way to work yourselves into this fight, especially with another pick on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, what really needed to be done there was I feel like the only way out of this mess, which is Tuyu and Buddyless pulling together and stringing together a series of picks, and with the Blade as well, getting that Mercy and eliminating that res capability as we get a great pick from Tranquility. That's exactly what you want to do. Is that Mercy is arguably as big of a threat as almost anybody else on that team when it comes to the res potential. So got to keep your eye peeled for that one, Ari.
Yeah, it may not be traditional, but still there is a reason the character is currently being played. And so why, of course, you have to address every single which way, avenue, character, you name it. King Size, though, about to have that Primal Rage, and, well, you're looking forward thinking, okay, maybe that's going to play a big factor in brawling things out, but they've just decided not to use it quite yet, making sure they go low enough on HP before eventually they do find an extra jump up to that high ground, taking down the Ana. Nope, never mind, you're sleeping. Oh, never mind, I'm awakened. I'm back on up, and now in the tiny ship, that is just not going to go well for you, juggled into a corner, but the rest of the fight still going relatively well for DaVinci. Of course, though, that is going to be the res back in the corner, 3 players still available, the numbers still about even, and the Vikings do have a chance to either bounce back into this or find themselves a bit walked over on. It will be Dino that sings out in the kill feed, and DaVinci holds strong.
My heart goes out to the side of West High School right now. I feel like, you know, throwing the primal and not being able to seal the deal is kind of tough. I mean, you got the Ana, but everybody else just kind of continued to sustain and sustain. And we got to see one more look at the Buddyless 2U combination. They have to deal with the Ana Mercy, I think, more than anything.
A little bit of a poke battle happening in the additional corridor, but it appears that is going to be the Jetpack Cat ultimate that is now sleeping, falling on the floor. That is a nanoed and Randit. Oh my, Bob with the absolute snipe onto the flying character. It's not like he has aimbot or anything, but Dino only sticking strong with the rest of the team, just fending off this push. And although the ults do get used, the pick's not quite there. The push staved off, right? They're still holding on to the space and not having to worry about a solid contest.
Crazy how Anran goes from nothing to being like completely alive in all of 2 seconds. Like that's just amazing.
Maga, is that you? We saw that similar friend with Maga.
The reincarnation of Maga. Oh, there's the pulse. I was watching. I'm like, Tyrant's been up there for like 2 minutes. Who's gonna deal with that? And 2U ends up doing exactly. So that's one healer out play. Impure. What happened to Impure?
Oh no, maybe tried to coach gun away from the pulse bomb and then just fell off the map.
Oh no.
If only we had replays. If only, because yeah, that's probably what happened. Now there will be a swap over to the Reaper, the Roadhog. We're really pulling out all the stops today. All right, I'm down.
I'm about it. If you got it in the tank, bring it to the party. Bring it to the cookout, won't you? Buddyless is able to get Impure, still sitting on that blade. We got a second primal up in the mix. Kitsune is also cooking, and it's cooking at Mach 2. This is best case for West when it comes to this fight. They're going to have a lot available, and looks like they're not really having to use too much of it. Buddyless is able to get one before getting picked away, but still, here's your Kitsune, here's your primal, and the blade's coming back in a moment.
I feel a boop incoming. I don't know why. This Roadhog looks like in a precarious position to where I'm feeling this Primal Rage equals a boop, but no, not quite yet. Instead, maybe not even needed. It's just all the players getting shredded on down. The Dragon Blade in the mix just for good measure. The Reaper, the only invincibility, keeping them here. And I think that was a headshot with a blade if that was possible. But there you have it, 37 seconds left on the clock. Honestly, felt like a bit more, but in the end, Vikings still with the cap.
Winton Watch is alive and well, and it seems like even in LAN finals for EGFH, it's in full force. Now the question, Ari, does it continue over on the side swap? Do we get Winton 2.0?
I mean, at this point, we've got, what, 3 or 4 characters we did not expect to see? I say just change it out. Just throw in some more characters while you're at it. Because we're going for a new record, the most individual characters played by a single team. That would be absolute banger. Of course, it would also help if they won the game and had that record too. So maybe, you know, wrangle it in just a tad. But it is going to be Big Sam on the Orisa. Interesting.
We've seen this before, I believe. I've seen Sam on Orisa, I think, once or twice. King size on Diva is nothing new. So far, it looks like everyone's going back to their roots, with the exception of Freya. Yeah, I'm going to say, if there's any one person I want to keep an eye on through this match, it's going to be that Freya. Oh, wait, no, we're going back to Bastion. So it looks like the Cat Bastion combo one more time. I would have liked the Freya, though, Ari. I think it would have been kind of cool.
I mean, honestly, I don't mind the Bastion for the first life and then maybe swap to the Freya. I mean, just see how you can punish this high ground. Granted, everyone's basically going to be at eye level when you fly around that corner, so do keep in mind that. But I see the vision. I see the availability of it. Now, the question is, how does that execution go? And you can tell Impure is just kind of waiting to be grabbed into oblivion. There you go. Lifeline. Here we go.
And so begins the party. Oh. Never mind.
Maybe not. Going for the split hold.
Just a comment, Ari. Like, the reason I said, oh my goodness, is because, like, I'm watching this from the point of view of King Size, and like there is just so much happening on so many different planes that it's like, as a tank, what do you prioritize? Like, the amount of decision making that's occurring every split second here is just, it's insane. Like, King Size has a limited amount of DM ability too, so there's a lot riding on the back of this Diva, I feel, to deal with, particularly on a Orisa Bastion. So swap comes into Domina. Thoughts, Ari? I know you've had some mixed feelings about it.
Well, I at least was right on the call about the Freya swap after the one life. Like, you know, they tried for the gamble, didn't work out, so there you go. As for the Domina, I think, again, maybe a tank that is going to struggle on this particular map, given how things are going, but, well, the Domina is removed. However, the support line for the Vikings is also, so actually the most even fight we've had so far. This, if snowballed, can lead to a few extra meters gained. Now, the Vikings, of course, will have a solid foothold in the next fight, assuming, of course, that they don't have more of that with the bigger staggers coming in.
A little pick up here for Big Sam by the cat, and gonna reposition on high ground as the cart comes around. What do we have for ults to contest? Buddyless and 2U are cooking a little bit here. They have a lot of cooking to do in a very short amount of time. You got a HelloFresh box or a chef plate box. You want to meal prep this real quick. Get to it. I don't know why I'm dropping food analogies this deep into a match. You're going to have to forgive me as Big Sam is just continuing to fight. King Size here, bouncing away to safety instead of choosing to dive, and that's fine. Looking to contest the point as best as possible here. Wants to find a dive desperately. There's the Kitsune as well. Big Sam getting absolutely eaten up here. There's the jump on, the support. Hakazi is gone with the backs of 2U and Winston as well. And alas, wait a minute, hold on.
29.
Oh,
barely.
My goodness, half a meter.
Okay, well, that's a quick cleanup. That's the easy way to do it. Yep, absolutely. Well, Buddyless, pay off onto the Reapers. That's a good swap in my mind.
I cannot begin to express how tightly I was clenching my fists. I'm like, oh my god, here it comes, half a meter, and it's, oh my, that was too close for comfort. I ain't gonna lie to you. But the flip side of the coin is, off that battle, DaVinci sitting on 4 ult as well. Let's see what they can do with it. Cat's able to pick up the 1. Oh boy, poor Winton. Winton,
Yeah,
who loves to fly and loves to be free, got unfortunately grappled and invalidated real quick.
Little too free, a bit free of the HP bar, if you will. But again, with these 4 ults now down to 3, you start to wonder what is going to be that combat against it for the Vikings. And, well, boofed away, kind of banished to a corner. There's the Domina ult, and up to the ceiling, dropped down, and exploded. That will not end. This map will not end on the first segment. We will have at least another one.
What the JPC does really well too, especially on Gibraltar, is the ability to position people in places that you typically need a little bit of effort to get to or can't even get to, period. Like, to be able to move your Domina up that high is pretty cool in my opinion, but as I say that, gets annihilated by Buddyless. So what was once something cool is no longer existent, bummer. But 2U and Buddyless here are continuing with their absolute assault. They're just disintegrating the back line of the DPSs there. Both Anran and Reaper are deleted.
Yeah, it is interesting to see that we're almost seeing Vikings win consistently more fights, but DaVinci win 1 and they get themselves enough to get past that point, right? It was about 2 in that first time, but it took them a while to get there, and now you're looking maybe 1 at 2 fights here. Can you break yourselves through into the spawn while avoiding quick respawns and ults galore? That's not going to go super well for your HP bar. 2U finds the 1, Tranquility with another, and this might just have to be a quick reset. The 2U has been farming on this Tracer. Glad to see it back.
Yeah, not a might, it's a must. Like, 2U and Buddyless have been working in tandem to create so much space, and it sucks for Hakazi, who's
Maga.
Oh boy, here it is again. It's like this is what I'm gonna have nightmares tonight of Maga. I'm telling you, just gonna hear that shout in my dreams. I'm just gonna like snap out of it with cold sweats and just lose it. Maga's been so prominent in this series, and for a good reason, Ari. They've just been so impactful consistently.
Sorry to interrupt with the Maga call, but it's one of those things that you're not going to be able to ignore on the battlefield. And, well, I say that literally as the entire team falls down except the Maga. Quite funny, actually, from the Maga POV that we got to see. But in the end, DaVinci, they'll still have their time left, about 1 minute, to farm up either an ultimate or 2 and get their way through this choke point.
It's a bummer because Big Sam's got an intention to deal with the DPS, right? But your DPS, the 2U and Buddyless, are just running around in different area codes on a consistent basis. So what has Big Sam left to look at? A Winton. Well, the Winton's getting pocketed by Kiri and Ana, so that's not going to work. You see the problem, like this mess of a situation that DaVinci's found themselves into. Oh goodness gracious! That's
yeah, okay. I mean, it almost looked like a one pump.
Holy.
Insane. Oh, Nano Reaper. Now you're looking at those one pumps. Absolutely. Maga going relatively low. But of course, if we know anything about Maga, it's that deceivingly low can be the case. Of course, this time it is 0 due to the Nano shotgun absolutely in their face. Make that a second kill for Buddyless. Of course, though, that will be a last-ditch effort now needed for DaVinci. They need to not only stagger their win, but find some sort of touch. It looks like there's a player in the backline, right? Is there? Yep. It's the jetpack cat.
One more look at it. Is it going to be enough? Can we see King Size deal with it? Yeah, so far so bueno. Maga's back in the mix. Up we go and down we come, hoping to get some cooldown resets from the rest of the team. The High Noon is not going to go anywhere as King Size is living and living and living in perpetuity. And that's going to be enough for West High School to take the win. Sorry.
I mean, I guess unexpected. I don't even know at this point, because the Vikings, they come out strong in this game. You saw DaVinci maybe doubting themselves, going for a bit untraditional of the player choices, but in the end, I mean, it's big plays like these. Buddyless doesn't even get really many of the final blows, but just that sheer damage output enough to help the team. And of course, with 2 final blows there, it is looking quite nice, but we saw DaVinci win out control and Flashpoint. That has to be their favorite type and style of playing the game, especially when it's on the Maga. But take them to anything else and the Vikings seem to thrive.
I'm looking further ahead now into the horizon because there's a couple things that are going to happen right now. First and foremost, I apologize if we can't talk too much about this matchup, just because what Ari said is very, very true. Time is limited, so we're going to be looking to speed run the teams in person and get them situated and funnel into the next series as soon as possible. But coming off of the win for West High School, this is like the perfect delivery of redemption if I've ever seen one. Like, to go from a loss against Hebron to now the ability coming up very shortly to play them again. Full circle, this is what Overwatch and competitive anything is all about. So I'm bringing the whole puzzle together, right? A very diverse set of maps, 5 maps total. So that's a great warm up coming in and preparing you for a variety of scenarios. Playing against a very, very competent team. DaVinci obviously put up a 2 series win versus the 3 for West. This is, I think, cool in the sense that West High School is going to walk into this finals, I think, the most prepared that they've probably been this entire series and entire day thus far.
Well, the stakes have been set. The grand finals up online. It's going to be Hebron versus our West High Vikings. We'll bring that grand finals to you right after a quick break. We'll get the players situated, and then we'll have the moment you've all been waiting for, the national title up on the line. We'll see you in just a moment.
Chasing the wind, gotta love it while you can. In the moment, let it in. No holding back, can't pretend. Chasing the wind, gotta love it while you can. In the moment, let it in. No holding back, can't pretend. Look at you now. You finally did it, finally made your mama proud. Yeah, they doubted, but the fire never drown.
Paralyze my heart. Don't wanna feel your touch like ice, tracing all my scars. Why is it hurt on the inside?
Well, folks, we are back. The culmination of the Overwatch competition is here at the EGF High School National Championships. We've got the grand finals about to get underway for you guys. This matchup going to be Hebron Varsity versus the West High Vikings. My name is Arcast here with Strive. We've been your yappers and will continue to be your yappers up until the end of this tournament. But boy, has it been a day today, and I can't wait to see how it kind of caps off.
Going to cap off in a very special way. We've had to make some alterations to the grand finals due to time constraints and some adjustments we had to make on site. Instead of a best of 5, we are now pivoting to a best of 3, so a first to 2 type of scenario. And we're going to go with a control, push, and flashpoint breakdown for those 3 individual maps that we're going to play here today. So some changes. It's going to be accelerated, which means less opportunity for mistakes and a lot less runway in the grand scheme for both of these 2 teams.
Yeah, these 2 teams did play, and we actually, I think, got to see it earlier, right? It was the West High Vikings that ended up falling 3-0 from the hand of the Hebron Varsity side. And so, you start to wonder, okay, yes, you got an extra rep in over towards the lower bracket, but now what is that adaptation that has been made that will help you implement a victory into your success here in the grand finals? We talked a lot about what those compositions were in the previous matchup, but I think going forward, looking in, this Maga mirror potentially on the cards. Again, a little bit more willing to do so against Hebron the first time, but didn't feel the need to go for it against the DaVinci Alpha Wolves, which they just ended up beating. So curious to see what that tank line is going to look like for you.
I have some intuition. My tank line, my vibes are telling me Maga's on the table again. I think for the side of Hebron in particular, their Maga was insanely good. And on the back side of it too, we've got Words of the Bands. It's going to be Tracer Hazard eliminated out of the picture. So I have very vivid recollections of what the Hebron matchup looked like, and Maga was a prominent part of that composition, and I would be hard pressed to think it doesn't show its head again here today.
Yeah, I mean, I pushed the kind of closer of the 2 maps between those 2 teams earlier. Control a bit more one-sided, although there were still fights that went to both teams' favors, though we know historically the result ended up being Hebron as the victors. So here you go. Here we've got it. It's going to be our first map underway. And guess what? We're back to Nepal. All series will start with Nepal.
Like it. This is good. It's a good foundation map, and it's kind of cool to start on the same type of situation. So yeah, there it is. I mean, shocker, Emong is on the Maga again. Johnny G has been the Kiriko Menace of the Century. Radriar is going on the Soj. Since the Tracer is banned, I believe that would probably be the most likely pivot from that, because we've seen Radriar occupy that Tracer role quite well, and Beast is going to go with good old Symmetra. 2U is going to mirror Symmetra again. Evans Corner back into the lineup with the Mei. Ramatra on King Size, Tranquility on the BAP, which I like to see, and Ghosty Boy again on the Lucio. So a lot of familiar picks and some small changes here and there.
Yeah, I mean, originally I believe it was the composition for these 2 teams did start with the Sigma on the point. Of course, it was a little bit wishy-washy in how that initial engagement went, but as for the storyline that we can set for you now, well, it is Hebron starting to continue where they left off in the previous matchup. No way, that stomp's gonna go right on time. It's perfect. Oh my. I mean, that's one of those things that you don't intentionally calculate. It just works out, but if even the luck elements, the potential strategy elements are going your way, you start to think that those mechanics alongside it will help you find the victory, find the strength in this map up early with that first capture.
It does. That stomp itself was just, yeah, it was some picture perfect stuff right there, I'm not going to lie. But one more look at it here, and the cool thing about Nepal as a starting map is it's a very fast-paced map. The respawn distance is very short, so you get a lot of fights and a lot of ult building up too. 2U here, oh, those turrets are doing great, and you know what? Was Symmetra the answer to Maga this whole time, Ari?
I'm going to say probably not. I don't think that same replication of success is going to happen again. I am a little worried for how Beast is going to get out of the scenario. I guess that answers that question. Back to the spawn room you go. And Mini Carter's been hanging around here for the moment. I think getting out of dodge in time. But yeah, there you have it. I mean, Emong a bit overzealous with the space being taken. Hopefully the team will follow behind them. But again, you don't have that Tracer with you. So it is a little bit less mobility that your team has and you need to be considerate of.
Yeah, totally here. As we're just kind of poking and prodding. We're waiting for the Emong's right opportunity to dive, and not quite there. Oh, this wall is so good. Emong is secluded only backed up actually by the Lucio, but that's all that it actually called for. Emong dashing right into the back line, burning through as Beast comes in with a fat Blossom. And that's going to be point secured one more time for Hebron.
4 ults on the board, though, for the Vikings. And, you know, there's certainly a will and a way that they can bounce right back into this one. Not by any means a crazy lead in either favor. I am looking maybe towards this cage fight if it can get farmed on up to kind of hold strong towards the left side, but it looks like that will be removed as the Symmetra barrier is placed in the midst. I like Raid Rear, by the way, using that plasma barrier as a kind of source of charge for the plasma cannon. But here you go. It's going to be that overclock in place. Takes down the lamp at first. What about the Lucio? No, it instead does reach the ground. No collateral there. In fact, it will be a little bit of a fall short. Beast really the only one that has a say in things now left on the point, and even that won't be for too much longer. The ice block on out as the little fadeaway shot has been made. Both teams at even score.
I mean, we're watching a lot of Sojourn POV there, and I was watching the whole fight kind of unfold, and Sojourn was kind of hanging back, and West was just ignoring Raydriar entirely, which I was like, how's this really going to work out? Oh boy, that wall actually brings in Reaper and the beat on top of it, so less than ideal as they've actually introduced more than I think they bargained for. Emong's going to go ahead with the cage here as well and annihilate Bap along with Johnny G. That's going to be a clean fight there for the most part for Hebron, as they're Sans and Emong, but everything else is looking just fine, and I don't foresee King Size making it out of this at all.
I mean, I do like at least that additional extra percentage. 80% is a good kind of number to be on, because when those players are coming back from spawn, it is going to take about 15% is that math, I believe. And so you're looking at kind of a staggered touch if you can win just about one more fight. Going to be a tough resurgence back in the mix, but Mini Carter falling down early, that is not ideal at all. Hebron, with the entire story on the line, you need to win this series here, but the DM applied to you being the player frying around, and this is all red in the kill feed. The Vikings are on top of things.
Yeah, they're very much on top of it, and if your Mathematica is correct, their RA 15% will take us to 95 before anybody else shows up, but I think it might be even tighter than that. And considering the Blizzard is also still here, if Evans can predict the location or at least use some sound cues, I would foresee some problems. And here we are, just peaking at that 95%, and you're absolutely right there. Let's see if they can make some magic happen with the freeze.
Hard dive, big slam, no, the Suzu in the mix, and oh yeah, Blizzard will fry Emong on down. The barrier as well in the mix, but Symmetra is one of those characters you can't rely on the other points. Nice to see the value now, but is that success going to be held on to for much longer? It appears so. The Lucio player fearing for their lives, running out of way. Mini Carter only has so much in the tank. The invincibility runs out for Beast. The final touches come through. It's Johnny G, but that will be it. The first sub-map goes the way of the Vikings.
Solid stuff, and Evans Corner must be feeling pretty happy with that freeze. They still did have the, if it dragged long enough, the Diva Bomb was on the table too, but West High School pulled up with the stick, and my goodness, was it an absolute crazy finisher there. Like, there was an, like, I'm telling you, man, what I kind of hit on last time, or just at the tail end of the last series, is that West had the best warm-up possible coming into this. 5 maps, 5 unique maps, obviously. Different play styles, different map styles, different picks. They had to go up against some, oddball changes here and there. So they're warmed up, and it showed. And they played really well together. I got to give them that.
Well, not to mention, too, the maps that they dropped in that previous series were the control-based side. So if they can win this one out, they're going to feel really good going into push, which, mind you, they full capped on in their previous series against a teammate, or against an opponent that took you the full distance. So big moves to be made. Hopefully, for their sake, they can feel happy with the results. But we also have a bit of PTSD from what Hebron were able to do here with the Anran, I believe it was, in the mix. But Beast on the Pharah as well, going to cause some problems. That'll be a bit of a dagger launched on through. The immediate picks going the way of Hebron, but is that full contest through? There's no Maga, by the way. They have swapped off that mirror. They want to go for the Sigma.
Don't know how I feel about it, because as you can see what's happening right now, Emong is getting completely pounced from every which way, and the survivability of that Junker Queen becomes a lot more viable when there's less constant damage output from the side of that Maga, I feel. So really good setup. You're again midway farming into alts on both fronts, but you've got a cool little combination with the Symmetra May. You're kind of like, there's a lot to handle at one given moment. You cross a choke, you could get walled, you could be sitting in the middle of a Symmetra blender. There's a lot that can go wrong if you're on the side of Hebron here.
And especially, I mean, Nepal, Symmetra, such a good character to kind of funnel out all of these players and punish some sort of aggression that a Maga would do. And I think that's why you're seeing Emong swap off. As much as I think the Maga pick would be good, it's just a little bit too scary for them. They feel they're not getting enough follow-up, and so it does make sense to have that sort of value change ways and methods. But of course, in this way, all the bullets still land. It's the Gravitic Flux in the backline, along with Midi Carter on the Brigitte, swapping off of that Lucio and finding another winning combination for them to start gaining percentage on.
Yeah, West High School here are finally about to pip over to all their ultimates, or getting very close to it. What is going to be nuts here is the Brig. We haven't seen too much of it, and here's the rally coming out right off the rip. Huge barrage as well. It's going to be 2U getting the one king-sized, and this is an absolute flurry on the kill feed. I mean, I don't blame you guys if you missed everything that happened there, because it all happened so fast. Elim after Elim. And so begins the avalanche. The snowball begins to roll down the hill 63%. And thanks to Ari's mathematical skills, we're going to see them show back up at around the 80% point. So not a lot to work with. But again, we still have the high noon and the window available for Johnny G.
Just thinking about how Hebron are maybe a little bit too confident after that last matchup between these two teams. They're starting to fall behind it, and you know, you drop one map and what is a best of 3, you are going to be feeling the heat for the rest of everything. That is 2 picks. Evan's corner with that May finding one, Ghosty Boy another, and this is pure chaos, all in favor of the Vikings. I mean, one player hanging around, it's Rager, and they're not going to find much more. There you have it, map 1 in the books.
Thoughts on the swap off the Maga? What do you feel about that? Was that like calculated in the sense of a strategic pick? Was it something done as a counter, like in the sense of just based on what the JQ was doing and so on? Like, what are your thoughts about that? Because it's very un-Hebron like to hop off such an impactful hero pick such as that Maga.
I believe this was when the beat was popped against the barrage, by the way, which was absolutely massive. That beat, I mean, protected the entire team, allowed them to win that fight and the point. But yeah, to your point, I think the Maga swap was a choice, not necessarily a good or a bad one, but how they addressed it, I think, was a little bit worse. Because when you go to that Sigma, when you are struggling to address the Symmetra, chances are you don't want to go Sigma, right? That's the main source of their damage. You're going to charge up those barriers. Those microwaves going to send you into the blender. It's just not the good character to go for in that scenario. But if you're Emong, if your team's not really communicating with you and you're saying, hey guys, I'm struggling out here, I'm dashing in and no one's here with me, what do I go? And you don't hear anything back, well then you're going to go to somebody else you know how to play, which in this case, sure, was Sigma. The only problem, not effective in the scenario that was applied. So I think hypothetically, had you gone swapped off of the Maga into the Sigma on the other sub-map that we didn't get to see, absolutely, I'd say that's a great choice. But given what we saw in that particular sub-map, I think it just happened to be a little bit of a lapse of judgment.
I think coupled with, there was a couple of moments where I felt like Hebron was almost, they were running too many little side quests and not necessarily in unison. Like we saw, like that pack mob mentality kind of faded. We saw the Pharah kind of venture away into the fringes and either die to the May or to the Kiriko. I saw that, I believe, on 2 separate instances. And all of that adds up. Like, your major damage output comes from Pharah in this case, like staying alive, and losing that for 15% every single time it's a substantial amount of time when it adds up to the overarching situation. Like, and that happened on 2 occasions. So think about 30% of we'll say possession time without a Pharah. It's quite substantial. So we summate the likes of Nepal, as we always have in the series, and we're going off to push now. We're going to Esperanza.
I'm thinking in terms of the bans, right before it was Bracer and I forget what exactly it was in the first time, but now we're hearing word that it is Pharah and Diva, which is exactly the two I was going to suggest. I hate how you told me that in the air, because now my prediction doesn't mean anything. No one's going to take my word for it, but like, these make sense, right? These two teams played against each other. They know what the wild cards are, and so you take away both of those very valuable materials now from each team, and you force them into what could be that Maga Mirror again.
Maga Mirror, I think there's a lot more viability on other tanks. I think Junker Queen can make a comeback again on this one and continue forward. I think there is a lot of possibility in the likes of, I would say, Sigma maybe would be kind of fun to play on this depending on the comp. But I think first, I think DPS wise, I expect an Emery right off the bat. For whatever reason, I foresee an Emery in the future. Yeah, I think so. I think Emery gives me that same warm fuzzy feeling in terms of damage output as the Pharah has in the past, and since we've eliminated that, at least from an alt perspective, the Emery is going to be super valuable. But let's see if this time no one's told me anything. This is just obviously it's unfolding in front of us. Let's see if I have some luck in my back pocket here and that happens.
Is this the map that we were told? I don't believe this is that map. This is Colosseo, right? I believe that's what this is called.
This is indeed Colosseo, Ari, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to.
Indeed, it's not, you know, it's like putting one and one together. Does not Colosseo does not equal Esperanza. We'll solve.
Well, I was like, well, were we meant to be on Colosseo? Is what I was like more kind of looking at, and so I was like, okay, are we on the right map and we were just told the wrong map, or are we on the wrong map? And now we, you know, figure things out. But
yeah, we're on the right map. Yeah. The map is fine. Yeah.
Okay, so we're waiting for these I guess characters to be selected then, and just to kind of go in game and see what exactly they're cooking up. Colosseo now the map, and yeah, that changes things about how we were talking about them. I think Sigma a lot more viable. King Size on the Orisa also a lot more viable than, say, a traditional Maga, at least in this first point, at least in this lane.
Yeah, I think Sigma totally on the board, as you can see. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Well, I didn't get to see the POV of it, but I did hear 2 shots go off, and that was that. So let's see how impactful the Symmetra can be on this particular point and how much mobility it offers. The Orisa is going to do a great job of soaking a lot of damage, and I like Emong just kind of traversing along the pillars here, continuing to make space and open up opportunity, while Raydriar and Co are kind of playing on the fringes on the backside, playing the off angle and giving themselves so much. Oh, that's a huge C4.
Yeah, that Dynamite certainly going to make its way forward. Of course, that Cleanse coming into the mix to kind of help out on the damage front. They are sticking with Symmetra, by the way. Something we thought would only kind of be visible on Nepal is instead now here and trucking and putting in the damage and the work here. The unfortunate part is, you know, when you get to that range, it can be a little bit more difficult. Now to you, though, still sticking with it. Cleanse used, and right click into left click, and UTP. Oh, it was out. Okay, I thought for a second they just TP'd right in front of themselves, but there you have it. First fight down, settled, and it's Hebron out on top.
Yeah, the Symmetra car wash is very, very scary, and when there's a Symmetra unleashing, you know, fully charged left click, it almost takes every bit of Johnny G's healing output to keep Sigma up if Sigma is fully exposed. So keep your eyes on what Symmetra can do in terms of utilizing Hebron healing ability or healing output, and that should enable some other great picks to come out from Evan's corner and even Baptiste in the backline. So point continues to move as an ample amount of space is being made, and Hebron is in the driving seat.
Absolutely, that'll be bomb thrown in, and Raydriar had a bit of a struggle bus map 1, but now put him on the Ash, and they are just cooking their way out. Of course, oh, hello, bit of a jump scare. Spots a Junker Queen in your face. The Dynamite may not land, but Evan's corner bullets will. That is until they receive some more of their own. It's Emong to find 2 there, and that's Emong with 1 G, not the 2, not the YouTuber.
Excellent performance here from Hebron as they've got that 77 meters. Once they picked up the pieces, like you said, they kind of started rolling really well, and that's been like the Hebron philosophy. On the backside, though, keep in mind, you do have the Kitsune. Are we going to get Kiriko back in the mix? The lift is invalidated by the Popsicle, at least for May. Freeze comes in here as Tuyu is just turning on the car wash in on Mach 2 speed here. try to survive as Beast gets 1, 2, and 3 on the kill feed in rapid succession. Kitsune not used. Nano is still on the table. Hebron here have some more in the tank for sure.
I love how you said that the lift was invalidated by the popsicle. That's a new workout routine, the popsicle lift. I'm so down for it, but instead we move on. No more yoga, instead bullets flying. A bit of a different sport, if you will. That's a big stick. Beast will find the one on a ghosty boy. That's no beat available for the remainder of this fight. Of course, it would have been farmed up relatively soon, but Beast was trucking before. I think we found out why we didn't see Tracer in the prior map. It's Emong, Ragear, Beast, all to find their value. Could be a full cap here on push, and honestly, one of the quickest push caps that I've seen in a very long while. Winton
is back. Hopefully Winton can defend. Beast, by the way, fully locked in. Like that, the tracing and mouse movement was just on point. Chef's kiss to watch here. Let's see now if Winton Watch can hold firm. A lot of damage to the back line as well. Here's the beat to get Winton moving. Hopefully this starts the freight train. Poor Beast is just trying to escape, but unfortunately blinks into the corner. However, King Size is low. 184 HP, is getting healed, but cannot soak it all as the Johnny G comes to the rescue to keep Emong into the mix.
I was going to say, maybe that beat used a little bit too early. It felt like, yes, it was as an engage, but you almost want to save that beat for when the Gravitic Flux comes through, something like that, because right now you have to know you are down the alt economy battle, given how dominant that Hebron has been. I mean, they've been pushing this card for what feels like 3 constant minutes straight, though the Winston's back, sure, but, you know, has to jump back, is forced to cool down out, and that Pulse Bomb sure goes awry, but the space, the momentum still for Hebron here. They have the Gravitic Flux. Let's see what it finds. The Winston jumps out of the way. In fact, everybody gets out of the way. Very nice dodge there, but what is the resurgence? How will these teams come back in? Bob kind of body blocked by the bots. A little bot on bot action. There we go. But in the end, the stalemate still remains strong. That is until Emong has a say, knocks a rock into someone else.
That's unfortunate. Both the Bob and the Flux go array, but seems like it's not that much of a hindrance here as Johnny G and co are just dancing around. It's poor old Winton along with a, you know, virtually dead Ana. And that's going to be the summation of that by the looks of it, unless there's some miracle in the tank and Ghosty can survive for 3 decades. But nope, that's going to be the summation. First to 3 is going the distance. This is our final map coming up here as Hebron takes this one home and pushes us to that final and 3rd map.
Well, are you not entertained? We had the previous map go the distance, all 5 maps. This one going the distance of 3. And I think, hypothetically, right, let's say Hebron wins the next map in a regular best of 5, I think they would have snowballed the success into 3 maps in a row. And what I mean by that is basically they just have a lot of momentum to work with. And if they can get the ball continuing to roll and, you know, pushing up that hill, I think they're going to take it all the way home in a best of 5 sense. Though that not being in the case with this a best of 3, those nerves start to kick in a little more. And so you don't have that larger effect of momentum, and instead you got to work here and now, and it's on Flashpoint, which if you're comparing to Control, Vikings technically did better on.
What are your thoughts on Flashpoint and how it's going to work out for, because you say Vikings did better, but I'm curious to understand from you, what is, surely, and this is me just speaking out loud, I feel like Hebron, being in a LAN facility or in person, watched these matches as well, right? Because they were just presumably just hanging out. Well, they would have had to have some time to think about things a little bit, no?
Well, they were playing in other tournament brackets, so they had another match, I believe, in a different one, and then popped over here to the EGF National Championships for high schoolers. But I think that additional reps and things like that, I mean, I would be curious to know if that alternate match they played that we didn't get to see here in this competition, if they won that or not, because that might have led to them losing that first map that we saw in this match, and maybe that's the difference. But of course, that slow start, we could also just attribute to that Tracer ban, and it's no longer going to be the case here. What are you going to do if you're the Vikings to counteract that? I wish you the best of luck.
I do as well, and out of the 3 between Junk City, well, I'll say the 2 because it's really just Junk City and Suravasa that we pick from, at least for Flashpoint. We're off to Suravasa, which we've seen here so far this afternoon and going into the evening now. I look at the side of Hebron on Suravasa and the side of West, and I think, here's my thoughts right off the rip. Maga back on the table again, without a doubt. It worked extremely well. I think the Reaper has been a nominal selection. Emery was insanely good for Hebron in the past. We saw that performance exactly on this map, I believe, if my my short memory is accurate. And yeah, on the backside of it, the usual Lucio Kiriko has always been a fun one too. So that's my thought process, at least right off the rip, Ari. I don't know what your thoughts are composition wise and based on what you saw work for West in the previous matches.
I'm thinking as well in terms of those hero bans. Like, do you just opt for the Lucio ban? Right? And I tried to get it out as quick as I could because I heard the producer in our ear start saying what the bans were. And so we were correct. It was Lucio. I didn't catch the second one, though. But of course, Sigma. All right, so there you go. Kind of a mainstay of what we saw being the success in the previous round for Hebron. And then Lucio banned outright the other way. So curious to see how that stacks up and if we have a Juno replacement instead of that Lucio.
I would say that falls in line with what I'm expecting as well. It's a direct swap in, I think. The Sigma ban, though, leaves me unsure. I don't. It's one of those like question marks again. Do you have any inkling or thoughts on the Sigma ban as a whole? Do you think it's targeted? Do you think it's, you know, why Sigma? Because I really didn't feel Sigma as a threat on this map, or at least in the series thus far.
I think what they're trying to do is force Hebron back onto Maga where they want it. And so they're saying like, oh, okay, well, if we ban out one of the two options they have to go back to the other one, and we won that. So we should win by like the transitive property of this logic. Well, there are other tank characters. There aren't just Maga and Sigma. And it seems like the Vikings will start to learn that as the Ramatra is the tank of choice for the Hebron side.
Ramatra Brig sounds like a lot of fun.
But
No, go ahead.
I feel like there's a but.
No,
Is there no but?
There's a but, and the but is I feel like Brig's gonna have a pretty hard time finding value in terms of proccing passives with the composition in the form of West. I don't know. I don't know how much hands you're going to get on the Reaper. I don't know how much mace you're going to get to the side of the Kiriko and Juno. Are you going to get much value out of the Mei? The Maga might be your only real, you know, brick to slap around. I don't know. I'm curious how Brig's going to fare.
That was my very same but that I had in store as well. So a bit of question marks available for Mini Carter, but of course we would love for them to dictate to us what exactly the successes are and planned and envisioned for the Hebron side. First engagement, though, going to be a little bit of a poke battle as it normally starts, especially with these types of comps. Very quick and clean Suzu that almost ends up with a lost cause of a fight, but it is Evan's Corner that goes down off the rip. Evan's Corner being in the entire series this time, no substitutions there, but it's Hebron now that win out this first fight. Not entirely sure what happened, just kind of had that consistent damage, enough pressure to where cooldowns were forced out and the players overwhelmed. Oh.
You know, the Brig perhaps isn't meant to be the brawl in all shapes and forms. Perhaps the shield itself is part of the value that they're looking to get, almost like a double shield comp if you think about it. So there's many layers to this cake, I guess you can say, and we're seeing it kind of unfold firsthand. And I mean, who doesn't want an extra shield in the game in the form of the Brig at the very minimum? So we see Hebron here, Radriar just pecking away. That Sojourn's going to be destructive if they can get a look at the right pick. And yeah, you can see just how much damage the fully charged right click does there. It's going to be impactful, especially when you start to do side quests with Mini Carter on that Brig. You can almost duel somebody or at least two people just together between the Brig and Soj from a protection and damage perspective.
I mean, this is such an aggressive front by Hebron. It just feels like that previous fight, in quotes, I'm gonna say, because like it didn't really have that oomph to it. It was a Brig bonk of the bash, and it does find its way forward, but now it was basically just kind of a waste of time, a percentage that Hebron was able to kind of gain for themselves a lot easier. This will be an Orisa holding on for dear life, and that will not happen much longer. The Brig mirror comes through with the Kitsune Rush. Gonna be used a little bit too early on this point, and by that I mean shouldn't probably have been used. The cut of the losses does come through, but it costs everything available for the Vikings.
Yeah, they expended the Kitsune, and it looks like the Cage, or the Maga was a swap, I believe, unless I'm missing it. So we still have a fair bit of game to play, but you look on the opposite, and especially if Hebron starts to stagger ultimates here, they're going to have a little bit more momentum going into the second and third point, assuming that's all that it takes to bring the win home. Again, as long as they don't have to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, in this next fight, they have an advantageous position, I think.
Yeah, absolutely have that snowball element available. Kitsune Rush should be good to punish onto the one tank. It does at least get king size, and that's the big deal, right? You don't really need too much more past that. You can kind of just take the ball and the rest of the team. You should be good. Might be a little close here or there, but in this case, absolutely not. Beast will farm theirs up as Johnny G expends it, and it's the Vikings now with 1 ult and a half, we'll say, that are really the only variable you're looking towards in this next fight, with Hebron just being so far ahead.
Totally. I'm looking towards the eyes of 2U here to pull together something magical. You know, maybe a big enough pulse to get them on the point. No. Yeah, okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Beast actually responds first with the pulse of choice, and Radriar is getting a pick. I'm watching this from a JQ point of view, but it feels like everything is unfolding elsewhere. There's just... it's a complete rinse cycle, unfortunately, for West. They can't find any opportunity. They're being denied, and there's like no ult expenditure either. Emong is still sitting on ult. Rally is still available. These guys are playing the long game, and with 30% now left, I don't know, Ari. I'm getting a little bit anxious.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really smart idea to figure out which fights you need to initiate with your ults with, and then others that you need to react with your ults. And for right now, it looks like Hebron, at least in this particular flashpoint, have always been engaging, since they know they have the ult advantage and can find something else to respond with if they need it. But there you go. That's what, 1, maybe 2 ults expended? I don't even catch the second one really. And so in the end, yeah, the Vikings now going to be down 2-0. Is this it? Do they not have enough gas in the tank?
Gas is low. We're not on fumes quite yet, but we're getting there. We're getting quite low because Radriar and Beast are coming up on their ult. Johnny's close. We still have the rally. So unless the West can farm up ASAP and speedrun it, I don't know what's going to come of this.
I mean, the 2U swamp to the Symmetra is honestly a bit of a saving grace, just in the idea of it's something new, it's fresh, and it's damage dealing that has not been matched from this West side just quite yet. But Beast making their name on history. Radriar with that overclock finds 2. Beast now as well. And it looks like this first fight, again, gonna go the way of Hebron. Still just rolling with this snowball, and it has not dissipated yet. We are very much still in winter.
No, we have a long point ahead of us here. West is going to come around with ults. The question is, for me, Ari, is it going to be too little too late, like you said? So quick, preemptive Kitsune here is going to get the ball rolling. The wall is deep, but look how much space has already been created. 4 members of Hebron are ahead of the May wall, and they're going to just go ahead and peck away at the masses and continue to make space and push them further and further back into spawn.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially for the ult cycle, right? You fend them off for one fight, you use one of your own, but you're going to farm up that Beast ultimate. You're going to get pretty close to Emong. And sure, the Vikings might not use one of their own, but look at how much time that's bought you. You can retreat back to point, play this sort of retake style where you're giving them that offensive positioning off the rip, and then you bounce back in. This time it's going to be with that Rally Blizzard in the mix as well, alongside the Rampage. This should be, in theory, a Viking W if they can get things going in their favor, but it doesn't appear to be so. The ult numbers just too far gone, and as the kill feed finds itself all blue, we will have ourselves a result. Hebron are your champions at a score of 2-1 here. They are your national champions.
Congratulations to Hebron. Congratulations to West for making it to the grand finals in itself. And we get the Emong play of the game to ice it off here. I want to go ahead and take a notable moment here and mention Beast. I mean, it might have been just the POVs that I saw, but watching Beast on Tracer cook was just impressive. So just wanted to make that comment. As a whole, both these teams played really well, but seeing just how impactful some of these Tracers and Reapers were today really just opened my eye into the depth and breadth of these individuals and just how well they know their hero pool and just how amazingly they did today.
I mean, honestly, it is fun to see how the first match between these two teams, we were highlighting the supports lines really being the difference. And of course, technically the Maga because of that, which one could get more healing and alongside then who could jump into the back line and deal out that damage in the end. But here, it seems to be a pure duelist DPS battle. And it looks quite nice. Of course, in that lower final, you did have a different tempo there as well. So nice just to overall in this competition, just regardless of these teams aside, to have such a wide variety of gameplay. It's refreshing.
Refreshing. This whole afternoon has been refreshing. Mind you, it's been a very up and down, turbulent type of refreshing because we've had our fair share of issues. I know things started off a little bit rough and at the venue and such, but I think as a whole, I want to go ahead and congratulate tournament organizers, the teams, the coaches, the parents, the support at home, every little bit that went into making this event possible and for sustaining these individual players and the teams throughout their careers. Huge congratulations to everybody. It's a job well done. And from a caster perspective, thank you for a fantastic evening, afternoon, and series. It was just an absolute pleasure and a great watch overall.
Pleasure working with you as well. I'm just scanning through all the rest of the Discords, and it looks like we are the only stream still going, at least from what I can see right now. So the EGF High School Championships, I believe, have concluded with this matchup. You see our winners here of Hebron taking home the Overwatch title. There's been many more given out today. My name is Casts here with Strive. We've been your yappers. On the prod has been Nick NCS, so big shout out to him. Give him some love in the chat, but that is it for us. We will see you guys when the next competition rolls around for EGF, but until then, stay sweet and stay safe out there, guys. Have a good one. We will see you guys next time.